America's Day at the Races here on Fox Sports 1. As always, we are proudly brought to you by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, check out americasbestracing.net today. And 'tis the season to get in on some racing action. Lovely Christmas tree in honor of our show. Welcome to the program. I'm Maggie Wolfendale alongside Sarah El Badwi. And Sarah, it might be a gloomy day here in the Big A, but don't worry, we have some sunny skies over at Oaklawn Park.
Yeah, nice to have that weather for them. It so often is that Oaklawn has the dreary, rainy weather, but it's our turn today. But regardless, we have great racing coming up from both locations over the next couple of hours.
At the moment, we're still fast in both locations, too. But we do have a feature coming up a little bit later on the Aqueduct card. It is race number 8, an allowance for 3-year-olds and up, traveling the mile. Sarah, we do see a defection of number 2, Dark Vector, and some New York breds hitting heads in this one as Maker's Candy. He'll look to build upon the effort in which he beat maybe a slightly weaker field last time out.
He did so with a nice Beyer speed figure, getting an 88 for that effort at the mile distance at a short price. He was the favorite that day, and you kind of have to wonder how consistent he really is and if he can really compete against open company, because his one start on dirt while trying to do so was kind of a disappointing effort. So we'll see how he ends up stacking up class-wise in this field. If he runs his last race, he's certainly a major contender, but I have a little bit of trouble trusting him in a field like this that's likely a bit deeper than what he faced there.
And I think both of us interested in number 3, Rocco Strong, in that one. Michelle Giangiulio will look for her second win on the card, and Kendra Carmouche for his third, as that horse in good form and against the track. But let's talk about another New York bred. That's Daddy Knows. He's coming in second off the bench for Ray Handel and has certainly run many races fast enough to win this. It's just he never makes it easy for his rider. Katie Davis seems to handle him well, but he's one that always lugs out.
We know how he usually is on the racetrack, giving his rider, which has been Katie Davis over the past couple of starts, a difficult time, but she certainly had quite a bit of practice with him, has gotten to know him very well, and has guided him to the winner's circle on multiple occasions now. So they'll look back to get back to their winning ways following kind of a disappointing effort off layoff, but he was against the racetrack a bit, and he was kind of lugging in while the other rival to his inside was lugging out. And that's really
interestingly run race.
It's not really where you want to be.
No, but he'll face a familiar rival as well. Sundays with Sandy. As here's what's on tap. Always proudly brought to you by Claiborne Farm. 100 years doing the usual, unusually well. We'll bring you race number 6 here from the Big A. Don't forget, race 7 kicks off the cross-country pick 5, including 3 races from here and 2 from Oaklawn, the 8th and 9th. And race number 6 over there in Hot Springs does kick off that 50-cent late pick 5. As always, if you want to play the action, make sure you do so with your NYRA Bets account. If you're a new member, you can earn that $200 deposit match bonus when you use promo code MATCH200. Just head on over to nyrabets.com for all the information. Well, the late pick 4 will be coming up next. We'll bring you horses in the paddock. We'll get to Richard Migliori, who will bring you a paddock report, and so much more to come here on America's Day at the Races here on FS1.
A Grade 1 winner of nearly $2 million, Silver State hails from the sire line of legendary Claiborne stallion Danzig. And his second dam is full sister to Kentucky Derby winner Monarchos. After winning the Oaklawn Handicap, Silver State defeated Knicks Go in the Grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap.
130.40, 130 pound 40. Roger, 140,000.
120, 120 pound PC, 120,000.
Grade 1 winner Silver State, standing at Claiborne Farm.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
Thanks for tuning in to America's Day at the Races. We are proudly brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm, 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. Well, welcome back to the set here. Maggie and Sarah along with you. And if you tuned into our program yesterday, you would have caught several stake races, but one that was highly more dramatic and interesting than the others, and that was a New York Stallion Series Great White Way, as we had about a 10-minute disqualification or inquiry, I should say, into the incident that happens right here, which when all of us initially watched it, thought that the one who was your eventual winner, Antonio Venice, deviated from his inside path. And even if you go back and read the chart caller comments, it would appear to sound the same way. And we were led to believe for about 10 minutes that they were looking into the one. And we assumed that they were trying to figure out, Sarah, where they were going to put him. Suddenly the inquiry sign drops and it's not the one that's disqualified.
It was instead number 12, Brick Ambush. But you can see here as we take another look that it appears to the majority of individuals that watched this race back that it was Antonio Venice, the one towards the inside, who was shifting ground. And honestly, it even appeared that way to Javier Castellano, who said in our NYRA press release, the 3 heavyweight champs, he tried to get out, and the 1, Antonio Venice, came out, and the 11, Solos Fury, was squeezing. So there's a name in those 3 names that's not mentioned, and that's the number 12, Brick Ambush, who was ultimately disqualified from second and placed to last. Now, even if Javier Castellano's saying that, several people are watching the race and seeing that. If you decide to not make any change, I can get behind that and understand that this was the best horse. He won the race. I can understand all of that. But to never blink the number 12 Brick Ambush's light or give any indication that he was being looked at in any manner, even if that was the decision ultimately made, it's still poor communication.
And building upon poor communication, Javier Castellano also saying that he tried to claim foul and lodge an objection against the unofficial winner in Antonio Venice, but that was never relayed to the stewards, apparently. That is what Chief Steward Braulio Baeza said to the press. And saying this as someone who benefited as my husband, and people can call me biased, but don't forget, this is our livelihood. This is how we put a roof over our head. This is how we feed our children. As someone who benefited from anybody being disqualified, I firmly believe that the wrong horse was taken down. And if they're going to take that horse down, I truly believe that it should have just been left alone. If you're not going to take the one down, leave it alone, as we welcome in Richard Migliori, former champion jockey, for his thoughts on yesterday's Great White Way.
Yeah, I see it very much the same way you do, Maggie. I really felt like the onus was entirely on the inside horse, your eventual winner, Antonio Venice. He was searching for room. As it turns out, subsequently, his uncoupled stablemate was drifting, and he would have stayed on the fence. It would have been no issue whatsoever. But him coming out and tightening up the 2 horses in between is what caused the whole problem. I don't feel Junior Alvarado deviated from his path whatsoever. He was the horse on the outside. Now, if you want to make the case he could have alleviated the pressure, I guess you can make that case, but that's not his responsibility. The inside horse created the contact that in turn accordioned the 2 horses in the middle, and the outside horse, if anything, his hip got touched and he got turned in a bit. So if you're going to make a change there, I believe, again, the onus was on your eventual winner, Antonio Venice. And if you're not going to take him down, then I don't think there's supposed to be any disqualification at all. But obviously, it was a jam. And, you know, thankfully, nobody fell, and it could have been a catastrophic event there. Big field, young horses bunched up. If one goes, it's going to be like dominoes. So I really think that, you know, the decision-making here is a bit puzzling to me. I've watched it probably 25, 30 times at this point, and I keep coming to the same conclusion. The horse that was responsible was the eventual winner, Antonio Venice.
And we have learned that owner Dean Reeves appealing the decision, I think rightfully so, of the stewards yesterday. So obviously, the ultimately the order, the finish, kind of waiting in the wings.
Exactly, and no matter what ends up happening with that, the bettors are the ones that are impacted by the final decision that was made yesterday. So even if there is some sort of change eventually down the line, if you had a 112 exacta or the 12 involved in your exotics in any manner, or you were having the 12 horse be the one who won, and we felt as though it should have been Antonio Venice disqualified, you still never get fair retribution.
And again, it beckons the need of the stewards coming on and showing accountability for their decisions and explaining their decisions to the betting public as well as connections. As we digress and we get into live racing action yet again. Race number 6 coming up here at the Big A. It is a late pick 4 sequence, which was dramatically affected by scratches. So we see 1 to 4 on number 4, Striking Speed.
Liam's Map, a 2-time Grade 1 winner with 6 consecutive triple-digit buyers, including a 114 to win the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. He's already taking the lead as a sire, with Grade 1 winners Basin, Wicked Whisper, Colonel Liam, and Juju's Map, plus multiple 6-figure yearling sales and 2-year-old sales up to $1.2 million. Proven on the track, proven in the sales ring. Liam's Map, only at Lane's End.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with NYRA Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with NYRA Bets.
Back with you here on America's Day at the Races. We are proudly brought to you in part by NYRA Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Horses in the paddock for today's 6th race as we get that late pick 4 sequence underway. Claiming 10, going the 6 furlongs. And Sarah, this one kind of had the sneaky suspicion you might see some scratches as there were several drop downs in here, but it was dramatically affected by scratches. Originally a field of 11, we're left with 5.
Precisely, and we're left with a horse that I had originally had some interest in picking on top when he was a bit of a price. He was 12-1 morning line when we had that full field of 11, like you mentioned, and now he's an extremely short-priced favorite because we're dealing with a situation where there just isn't much for him to go on for other horses that are left within the body of this field, and he projects to end up being the one in front now with all of those scratches.
Yes, he looks to control this, which could ultimately be very favorable for him. Wayne Potts will send out this Son of Brilliant Speed. Dylan Davis in the irons, but we get down to the paddock for a paddock report with Richie.
Yeah, I mean, scratched down to a field of 5, so we lost a lot of the main contenders. A horse that I'm very interested in, and I think the only horse that has a chance to upset the apple cart of Striking Speed is number 1, High Heat. I like the way this horse looks here. I know he's coming off of a layoff. There have been times this horse has shown speed from the inside. Obviously, there's a bit more urgency for the rider to get their position going forward. And one thing I'll say, Toby Sheets, who had been a long-time assistant trainer to Steve Asmussen, now working with Rachel Sells, I think the horses have looked outstanding, and this horse looks tremendous in the flesh. I love his coat. He looks fairly fit to me, and I think if there's going to be an upset of the 4, and I do think the 4 is going to be very formidable. He looks good physically, and obviously on paper he makes a lot of sense. I'm going to keep a long, hard look on this one horse, High Heat, to see if he can handle Striking Speed.
And really, Richie, I've observed the same thing, and I promise I'm not saying that because he's one of my best friends, but Toby really has Rachel's horses looking fantastic. But at the end of the day, you can have them looking fantastic and demonstrate your horsemanship, but a lot of times you just can't make them any faster.
You can't enhance things that start at a certain base level, right?
Well, we kick off this post parade with him. He's number 1, High Heat, making his first start since May.
A horse that we haven't seen in a little while does come in from Finger Lakes like many other Rachel Sells horses. Maybe one to keep your eye on, but his recent form not exactly going to put him in the winner's circle.
There's your current favorite at 2-5 is number 4, Striking Speed.
He's really been outrunning his odds lately in some tough spots, but now with the price that he is in this field, he should get the job done today.
Number 8, Mach 1 going by as we see number 10, Gandy Dancing, as Maddie Ulver takes over.
He exits a race that was won by Blake B, and we saw the second and third place finishers come back and not really run quite as well out of there.
Here's another Finger Lakes invader with Jackie Davis in the irons. He's got a short fuse.
A winner 2 starts ago over a racetrack that had some moisture in it. Now, I don't think that we're quite at that point today so far, so perhaps not getting exactly what he prefers in terms of a wetter surface.
Well, if you want to play along with us, make sure you head on over to NYRA.com/TV schedule to download your free PPs from Equibase so you can follow along with all the stats on the horses, trainers, and jockeys here on today's program. Well, now we'll welcome in the 4th member of our team, joining us from, I'm going to assume, Saratoga, Jonathan Kinchin, for his thoughts on this 6th race. JK?
Yeah, Max, the clue always is the doggy wallpaper. That means Saratoga, so next time, just that's the clue. That's how you always know. But it's tough. I mean, at a lot of different places, a lot of different times. Striking Speed. His parents are going to be proud of him today. He's 1-2, and I'm sure he's never been 1-2 in his career, and he should be in this spot. However, I'd have a hard time betting on him at this price. I think this is a perfect example of where multi-race bets can really kind of save you and give you something to do here. There's a pick 4, pick 3. I think you can feel comfortable singling Striking Speed at 1-2. I don't have any interest in betting him to win. This horse has a speed advantage in a small field. Think about this as kind of being almost like a match race. We've talked about match races a few times over the last year. I feel like we've had a few on the show. Speed is just so dangerous in those because you can get to the front end and you can dictate. And I think that Striking Speed will do that. There's 4 horses in this race. But man, he has such a 5 horses, has such a significant edge from a tactical standpoint. And even on paper, his last race was probably good enough to beat this group that's left, despite the fact that he has a pretty big advantage from a tactical standpoint. I know my man Mig would have Striking Speed on the front end pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're riding the best horse that has the most natural speed, don't get cute, don't get fancy. Make everybody get exhausted chasing you. I have no false illusions. I do think Striking Speed is going to be very, very tough to beat here. I'm going to take a little bit of a flyer with the 1 High Heat. I just like what I see from a physical perspective and maybe from the inside. I mean, this horse did show some speed at Penn National. If you look at his, you dig a little deeper, his fast dirt track races, he's only run 4 times on fast dirt with a win and a second. I know it's a tall order, but he's actually taking money. He's coming down steadily now, and I'm going to go with the angle that Toby Sheets, such a good horseman. And I agree with Maggie that you can't make horses faster than they are. But sometimes when a horse is just fresh and good, and even at his last start at Finger Lakes way back in May, he had a check, and then he was beaten a pretty good ways, and then he went to the shelf. So obviously something went amiss there. Maybe he got injured. I always contend horses get injured when they get bumped, when they have to check and shift all their weight around on one leg leg or another. So here's a horse now training steadily, looks great in the flesh, and man, he just bounced down to 9-2. So maybe some other people are thinking, man, but I think High Heat could show a little bit more speed, particularly being fresh. The 10 horse I thought is a little bit interesting, Gandy Dancing. You know, one thing, you know, Maddie Oliver is an apprentice rider that has really shown steady improvement, got to ride on a consistent basis at Monmouth all summer. And there's, you know, a period of time when an apprentice rider really starts to see a race. You know, it's a process to get physically fit and as strong as you need to be. I think she's still a work in progress there, but I think she's really seeing a race well. She's had good success with Oscar Barrera in the past, and I thought that horse was a little bit interesting as well, but I'm going to give it a little shot here and see if we can throw some High Heat.
Yeah, and he's a main threat, I think, you know, of any horse to apply pressure to Striking Speed. He could do it. Now, Eric Cancel, not an overly aggressive rider by any means, but at least that would project to put him in the right spot to possibly pounce on Striking Speed if he decides to back up.
Well, if somebody's going to do it, you'd think a horse that's drawn towards the inside is likely to be the one to have to sort of show that more forward position right out of the gate if there are any intentions to be forwardly placed whatsoever. So I think that kind of where he draws does sort of determine and force his hand a little bit if that's ultimately the route they decide to go. And it'd probably be their better chance to get a win being more aggressive with a horse that projects to possibly show a little bit of speed, because if you let Striking Speed go, this race is over.
Yep. As they head into line, Chris Griffin brings you the call of the start of the late pick 4. It's race number 6.
He's got a short fuse. Is in. All set. And they're off. Favorite was off slowly. Striking Speed is the early trailer. High Heat is right out to the front, and there's High Heat. Mach 1 is going to join that pace setter. Out wider, Gandy Dancing in the early mix, and he's got a short fuse. The 4 of them in front of the trailer. Striking Speed, and Dylan Davis going to tuck right in behind the battling quartet. There's the favorite at 2-5, is settled into the 5th spot as they approach. 4 furlongs left to go. High Heat has got the lead, but has company. In the 2 path there is a shoved along Mach 1. Gandy Dancing 3 wide. He's got a short fuse, is 4 wide. Breaking a step slow, but now Striking Speed is just ranging up in behind this rival. It's High Heat who's got the lead, but just waiting for the cue is Striking Speed, who now sees the seam, and Striking Speed is in the clear. Here comes Striking Speed, just to pass right on by High Heat, who is battling on towards the inside. It's Striking Speed, and there's High Heat, will not go away. High Heat is coming right back at the favorite. It's Striking Speed trying to put away a stubborn fighter down towards the inside in High Heat, but Striking Speed is now going to get the measure. It's Striking Speed to get the score. High Heat second, then came He's Got a Short Fuse for third. In 1 minute 10 and 4.
2-5 shot gets the job done here in the 6, Striking Speed, but not in the way we thought, Sarah.
No, this is a situation where he did not at all end up being your early pace setter, because he didn't break all that quickly, and then everybody else was very offensive-minded in this race. I think they all kind of knew what they had to deal with this short-priced favorite, because it was like everybody else was very close up early and kind of kept him in traffic, and then ultimately he ended up just being the best horse in this race. Dylan was able to find a way through, but Eric was aggressive with High Heat, and it was the right move because he almost got the job done.
He did, and they were so far clear of the 3rd place finisher, who was the longest shot on the board in number 11. He's got a short fuse, but he just kind of breaks slow, Sarah, from what I can see.
Yeah, we're taking a look at the head-on now, and he doesn't get out of the gate all that quickly, and then he kind of ends up in even more trouble because he's stuck in behind horses, and he was a horse that we had projected to be the one setting the pace and be alone up front, and things didn't quite work out for him that way. And you have to think that if this was a bigger field and everybody else had stayed in, he would have been in deep trouble. You can see Dylan's trying to find a spot to go outside and then has to shift over and say, okay, now we're going to go inside. And look, he ended up being much the best in this race, but this is not how you want your 2-5 shots to win.
I give Eric a lot of credit for this ride. He was aggressive. He took no prisoners, where Dylan was a bit passive out of the gate, but in the end, he was just on the best horse.
Precisely. A horse that was able to overcome his early trouble, get the job done against a group of inferior foes, more so than who he had been facing as of late.
Well, that is your unofficial order for 1:11:10 at the Big A over at Oaklawn. They're on the track for their 4th race. It is a maiden 12-5. Promise it's coming. Going the 6 furlongs. Defection of number 1, Mamba, out 3-5. I thought could be shorter. I thought this horse could be 1-9, Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Maybe that's a bad sign.
I agree. I think that this is a situation where this horse could be such a short price, and people are kind of a little bit skeptical of this major drop in class.
It's a huge drop in class for his running as well as he did for 50, all the way to the bottom for the 12-5. Paulie, are you trusting? Oh my God. Welcome, by the way, Paula Duca.
Yeah, thanks, Mags. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, you know, it's a tough horse to trust. One of my plays against as a handicapper is a horse that did show speed first time out, and why you putting blinkers on. Now, the Flurry Stables, I think, is trying to win this meet. They've been dropping everything, so maybe this horse is just going to be fast enough and go to the front end. A little note, now we've had the first race, horse was laying second, won that race, and held off the favorite. The second race was gate to wire. The third race now is a 3-5 or 1-2 shot that went gate to wire. So far the racetrack has played toward speed, but maybe the best horses have won. And if the 7 gets loose here, maybe she's going to be very, very tough. You know, for Cipriana Contreras. When you look at some of the other runners in here, I just look at recency, right? Because that seems like that's been paying off. And you look at the 8 Adava for Bubble Up Stable for Michael Puich. This horse drops for 12-5. You don't really love that he ran 4th in a field of 5 at Churchill Downs, but he's making a giant drop to 12-5 as well, or she is. So, and she comes out of a couple loaded races. And then, you know, the horse that I was interested in a tiny bit was the 3, Candy Coop. That first race does stick out in a restricted bred race here at Oaklawn. And she ran some decent races for Al Cates, and then she got into the Greg Compton barn. They went long, they went on the turf, and then last time out she broke slow. I think just back to where she was on the dirt. I think she makes her a little bit dangerous in here, but the 7 just lays over this field. But there is question marks. I think the 3 would be the better option, and maybe 7-1 over the 8 a little bit here, a Diva, but I think it's 7 over 3-8.
All right, Paul, I can get behind Candy Coop in here. Sarah, who he was mentioning, Greg Compton with this one, off a little bit of a break, just completely out-footed in that off-the-turf 5.5 sprint, and was down on the inside, then switched out down the stretch and ran on mildly in what saw a next-time-out winner in Ginger Girl. I don't know if she's able to beat the favorite here because she feels like one that's going to have to close.
And she's a horse that has had a little bit of trouble getting out of the gate sharply. As you mentioned, hasn't really shown any early speed either. So that's kind of a concern, particularly with what Paul mentioned about how the racetrack's been playing so far. Now, we've only had 3 races from Oaklawn, logical results, so maybe you don't want to read too much into that. But at the same time, with such a short price favorite that projects to have speed, I don't know about her.
Well, we're going to pause for a brief moment here on the program to welcome in a new audience. Welcome to those joining us on Bally Sports SoCal and San Diego. You are watching America's Day at the Races with live racing from Aqueduct and Oaklawn Park. I'm Maggie Wolfendale alongside Sarah El-Badwi. We also have Richard Migliori, Jonathan Kinchin, and Paula Duca out there in Hot Springs as they are loading into the gate for their 4th race. This is that maiden 12-5 going the 6 furlongs and a prohibitive favorite with number 7. Oh my God, big drop down off the claim for a horse who showed speed at Keeneland in her debut. We'll add the blinkers and we'll see if she is responsive to this drop in class and that equipment change as we head on out to Matt Ditterman, who brings you the call.
Post 5, and after Calling for Dollars, Smoke and Motion. Calling for Dollars goes into the gate just about. Backs away, calling for dollars. And now we wait on Smokin' Motion. Calling for dollars, just about it. Now she's in, Smokin' Motion to the outside post. We're ready to go. And Laroff, having to take up sharply after the start, was Accelerating Babe and is dropping to the back of the pack. An awkward move for her out of the gate. There's scrimmaging for the early lead. It's contentious up there. Kamikaze Blue's got a share of it with the favorite Oh My God. And those two are a neck apart, and they're hounding one another, and they fly down the backstretch. They put 2 lengths on a Diva. Happy to track on the rail third. The gray Smokin' Motion right behind her. Then there's a space of 5 to Accelerating Babe. Calling for dollars is third last. Graceful Moon already under pressure, drops to the back with Candy Coop. Around the far turn, 22 1/5 seconds that first quarter mile. Oh My God, the favorite. Kicking on now, Kamikaze Blue could not keep up his plummeting back. Her job as the pace setter has been completed. Adiva picks up the running in the second spot. She's after Oh My God, who goes confidently down the lane. The reins get shaken at her now. She responds, opens up 2.5. Adiva chasing hard in second. Smokin' Motion third with about 100 yards to go now. The leader is still Oh My God. Adiva second, third home Accelerating Babe coming on for a minor award, but it's going to be Oh My God to win it. Second home Accelerating Babe. Adiva was third across the line, and calling for dollars checks in fourth.
Matt trying to do his best, like, Long Island accent there with Oh My God. We see why the blinkers go on, or at least the blinker she was wearing, an extension blinker, so may have shown possibly in the mornings a propensity to want to lug out. She ran straight and true today, fended off all challengers, but Sarah, possibly the one that you want to take out of this race coming back, number 4, Accelerating Babe.
Huge price on this horse, who the turf experiment didn't work out last time, but got back to the dirt. And this horse was so compromised at the break, really had to check sharply, and then was coming on, making up good late ground to finish second. I think 55-1 or something about that. So that'll be a nice exacta with your favorite on top. And she was just much the best for this field.
Well, that's how you create value. But yeah, the 4, Accelerating Babe, completely eliminated at the break and rallied well with Christian Torres for Ronnie Cravens. As we need to take a break here on America's Day at the Races, but stay tuned. The cross-country Pick 5 begins with Aqueduct's 7th race.
Into second, Nashville dropping out of it, and then Collusion Illusion. What a spectacular return for Charlatan, who will romp in the Run Happy Malibu Stakes by 4.5 emphatic lengths. Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new king.
Thoroughbred Racing is taking vital steps to make our sport safer. These include the use of independent veterinarians, strict anti-doping and medication controls, and a single national authority empowered to create uniform standards and enforce reforms. With each step, more data is gathered, accountability demanded, and progress made as safety takes the lead. Visit ntra.com/safety for more.
Thanks for sticking with us here on America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 1. As we are going to get into our Spendthrift Farm 2-year-old race of the day. Spendthrift standing leading sire Into Mischief, as well as many others, as this is your field for the Spendthrift Farm 2-year-old race of the day. We see a lot of money coming in early on both Malibu Margarita and Dixie Pharaoh. Sarah, that one is switching from turf to dirt, and Malibu Margarita is switching, stretching out in distance to this mile and an eighth, which can be quite demanding for 2-year-olds.
Yeah, this is a tough distance as all of these horses really trying to go this far for the first time. So it's a tricky race. You have a couple that make sense in here coming out of some live-looking races, but this is not a race that I think you want to go super skinny in. It's a tough way to start things out.
Yeah, we will get to your ticket in a moment as this does begin the cross-country Pick 5 sequence. 3 from the Big A, 2 from Oaklawn. But Jonathan, you've got a ticket for us today. How'd you play it?
Yeah, I'm going to spread a little bit early. I don't have a strong opinion early. I get a little bit skinnier a little bit later in the sequence. To get started off, I'm going to start with 178 in the first leg. I have no idea how to pronounce the number 1's name, and I'm not even going to try it. The 7, Malibu Margarita. The 8, Vinsanto, another one that I'll use. In the second leg, 1, 3, 7, and 9, the 1, Maker's Candy. The 3, Rocco Strong. The 7, Drake's Passage. And the 9, Daddy Knows. I'm going to use a handful of horses, 6 horses in the third leg. 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, and 10. 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, 10. And then I'm going to single the 4, Coastal Invasion, in the fourth leg. And then I'm going to use 2 horses to wrap it up in the last leg. The 3, Winnemac Avenue, and the 12, 10 Days Later. Sarah, can we both hit this or no?
We can, actually. There is a way for us both to be successful within this sequence. There's kind of only one way, but we do have the same single, the number 4 in the fourth leg, our first race from Oaklawn in the sequence. But I agree. I went deep in here. I didn't have a super strong opinion within this first leg. Used 3 horses in the next. I think that Rocco Strong is our way to victory, perhaps, in there. Laurel Valley and Engineer Empire makes some sense to me to close things out in what is really a wide open race. And then I don't have a super strong opinion in the finale of the sequence over at Oaklawn. Used a couple of prices as well as the number 12, 10 Days Later, one of the more logical types. So a $48 play, and now you have 2 different ways to possibly play it. Maggie, whose ticket are you siding with today?
I went with you. I went with.
Pick one.
Hold my foot to the fire. I'm gonna play with JK today.
Okay. Well, you never want to play with me.
I do. Didn't I play with you last time?
No, you didn't.
Oh, that's why I said JK. Anyway, JK, by the way, in on it. Not as tricky as it looks. Those are the tickets from Sarah and JK. Hopefully you are playing along with us in this cross-country Pick 5 sequence. More to come on the other side of this break.
Catching Society. Cybernite has won the Haskell over Tama and Ghana in the Forgo. Echo Zulu wins the Next-Gen Breeders' Cup Facilities.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen. every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Welcome back here to the program. It's America's Day at the Races on FS1, Valley, SoCal, and San Diego, too, as we'll see those familiar silks making their way into the winner's circle. Fleury Racing Stables, as Paul LaDuca said, they're trying to win this meet title, hence the drop in class for Oh My God, who gets things done, but a nice exacta, Sarah, with Accelerating Babe at 55-1, returning 33.50.
Horse that had the trip for sure in there. Oh My God, gets the win at a very short price. And just as you mentioned, they want to win the meet, and they're well on their way.
Exactly. As you were taking a look at number 1, In On It, Sarah, who I kind of feel like he's the one that should appreciate this 1 1/8 distance. He ran very well last time. Didn't have much early speed despite braking well. And then he's going to weave his way through traffic to get up for second.
Yeah, he was a huge price this day, too. He was 47-1. We see both In On It and Vinsanto finishing behind Brick Ambush, of course, who unofficially ran second yesterday in the New York Stallion Series Great White Way division. But both of these horses, slightly different trips. I mean, In On It was the one dodging through traffic, and Vinsanto was a little bit closer to the early pace. And I think that you kind of want both of them going forwards into this upcoming race, because I couldn't really separate either of them all that much. I thought that they both ran very well.
Currently seeing on the outside runner Vinsanto 3-1 versus 4-1. One more lower profile connections with In On It, though Jose Gomez will be looking for his second win on the card today as we kick off a post parade for the son of Include. And this one goes out for Lisa Lugovich for her late father.
And this is a horse, as we mentioned, just improving lately. Ran well to finish second last time out. Big price. 63 Beyer speed figure.
Blinkers going on. Number 2, Prophetic, also coming out of that same race.
And he got bet a little bit more last time. Didn't really necessarily improve in terms of his number, though, from his debut, which was on a sloppy sealed track.
First time starters, number 4, Manny Penny.
A horse that goes out for one of the more lower profile connections, and a lower profile sire as well in Micromanage.
Here's number 5, Dixie Farrow, well beaten second last time, though, on the turf.
Yeah, gets back to the dirt, a surface that he had started his career on. Ran well last time out on turf. We'll see what ultimately ends up being his preferred surface.
Another one going from turf to dirt is Brown Don't Stop. He went by. There's the one taking all the money. Number 7, Malibu Margarita.
Wasn't bet really at all on debut. Comes out of a decent race, though. Slam and Gold and Liberty Central finished 1-2 in there, and now stretches out in distance from 6 furlongs to 1 1/8 miles.
He was very green in that debut, too, as the blinkers go on. And here's number 8, Vinsanto.
It was his dirt debut last time after 3 starts on the grass, and he ran very well. He was also a big price that day. He was 23-1, finishing behind In On It in that same race that 3 do come out of. So perhaps ends up preferring this surface moving forwards.
Sarah, it's Sunday. Do you know what that means?
Tell me.
It means that you get that exacta bonus here at the Big A, that 0% takeout when you play exactas here at the Big A. Only on Sundays. So, pays to play.
Today's the day.
Yeah.
Now's the time.
Check out NyraBets.com. Opt in. Do your thing. We do our thing and check in with Richie standing by trackside.
Yeah, Maggie, we're going to start down towards the inside with number 2, Prophetic. He's a horse that started at 7/8, went to 1 mile, now the 1 1/8. Feels like he is going to appreciate the 2 turns and the added ground. He is a sibling to Wells Bayou, won the Louisiana Derby at 1 3/16. Extremely well turned out for trainer Mark Hennig. Just really like his coat. Got that rich hydrated coat that, kind of clues you in that a horse is just doing well. Very healthy looking individual. And I just think that the 1 1/8 could really benefit him. The 7, Malibu Margarita, will be my top selection. I really liked his debut. Was green, felt like he was kind of run off his feet, sprinting. Looks from a physical perspective, a horse that'll appreciate stretching out. He adds the blinkers, and I think he's got a pretty good chance coming out of that sprint to take these gate to wire. I do think he'll be very forward off of that one sprint race. And the 8-horse Vincenzo. Listen, Bruce Brown's horses are always well turned out. They look terrific. I asked Bruce about, he started about, on the turf. And, part of the reason was, well, yes, he did have that big, wider, flatter foot, but really just to go long. So now they gave him a try on the dirt last time to see what to do with him with this winter, and he ran well. And I tell you, looking at him here from a physical perspective, if he can drop in and save a bit of ground into that first turn, I think he'll run a big one for sure. I'm kind of curious to see what JK's thinking. Jonathan?
Richie, I'm just going to copy you. You know more than I know. I'm just kidding. I actually do like the 7 as well, Malibu Margarita. And for a couple of reasons. One, the horse is adding blinkers and stretches out. So there's these changes. And a horse took a little bit of money on debut into the teeth of a pretty heavily bet favorite. And I think that what happens in those situations is that sometimes when you look for horses that are taking money into the teeth of that, it can be a sign of some talent. I think that they probably thought this horse was a little bit well meant. I thought he ran pretty well. Nice educational first run. I mean, it's like if you draw it up about like how you kind of want your horse to run first time out sprinting and then stretch him out. It's basically exactly what Malibu Margarita did. Puts the blinkers on. And a lot of times that can be to add speed, to put a little speed into the horse, but it also can be a focus thing. Maybe they felt like when there was time to run, Malibu Margarita didn't really lay it down like they would have liked. So maybe the blinkers can kind of help with the focus. So I'm going to go with Malibu Margarita. I'm a huge fan of margaritas, but I do not like salt. I think it's kind of silly to put salt on the rim. Maggie, I hope you agree with me.
Nope, I don't. I love me some salt. Granted, I like salt on literally everything, so there's also that angle. But you did just see Ruben Silvera taking the cotton out of Malibu Margarita's ears. And with Ruben on, with the blinkers on, with the stretch out, Sarah, I think they're stretching this, or going to go for the lead. You and I, not the biggest fans of this horse, but it's Rudy and it's taking money, so therefore probably going to win.
He's just had a live weekend with a lot of horses that have been bigger prices than this, and this is one that is now really being heavily bet. So you have to imagine that somebody feels as though this horse is going to improve with the stretch out and distance. I agree. I think this one will be forwardly placed, and that could be enough in this spot. This horse wasn't necessarily within my top 3. I picked this horse 4th, but the horse is on my ticket, and I'm a little bit afraid of basically anything the barn is sending out over this weekend because all the horses have been running.
They head into line. Interesting field assembled here. You and I, we like the way that the 2 Prophetic and the 8 Vincenzo were warming up. We'll see how they perform. Is everybody trying this 1.8 distance on the main track for the first time? And we head up for, well, I guess the second time on this show to Chris Griffin.
Vincenzo. Goes in. All set. And they're off, and it was a very slow start for Prophetic. Just stood in the gate there, missed the start. Is already 4 lengths. The trailer is back there with Manny Penny. Speed up top, it's In On It, who's got the early kick, and In On It is joined by Dixie Farrow. They're going to be 1, 2, and 3 wide. That's Vincenzo to join them, and Vincenzo will clear. It's Vincenzo who now emerges, takes the lead, is up by a full length. Taken back is going to be Dixie Farrow. As progressing, here's Malibu Margarita, has now taken that second position away as Kendrick Carmouche immediately taps on the brakes, tries to slow things down up top. Back there in the 4th spot, that's Brown Don't Stop, who's to the outside of In On It, towards the back end of the field. Slow starting Prophetic with the trailer, Manny Penny. 24.47 for that opening quarter mile. They're chasing Vincenzo, and Vincenzo is just loping along here on the front end. Malibu Margarita wants to push the tempo now, and now gets within a half length of the leader. Following them, Brown Don't Stop is going to be 3 wide. It's just off of these pace setters now, and at the rail, that's Dixie Farrow with Dylan Davis in the orange cap. They're followed by In On It and Jose Gomez. They're 4 lengths off the lead, getting closer now from the back. Manny Penny and Prophetic is the trailer. 50.48 the half-mile time, less than a half-mile to go. Vincenzo's got more. It's Vincenzo who's still a neck in front. Malibu Margarita will not go away, and Brown Don't Stop is just looming up on the outside of them. Also, here comes Manny Penny, and Manny Penny's got to rally a touch wide. Beating to that spot is going to be Dixie Farrow, though, in the orange cap. Wants to tip outside, is doing just that. Vincenzo in between horses right there, Malibu Margarita, and here's Brown, Don't Stop. And Brown, Don't Stop has taken the lead. Not done yet is Vincenzo, who comes right back to the inside. It's Brown, Don't Stop, trying to put away Vincenzo, who's got more for a final furlong. Brown, Don't Stop is almost there. Vincenzo continues to battle on. A late run here from Dixie Farrow. It's going to be Brown, Don't Stop. At 9-1, Brown Don't Stop gets it. Vincenzo in a photo with an oncoming Dixie Farrow. Then came in on it. Final running time, 1:53.4.
Upset City here. Brown Don't Stop. Orlando Noda with the switchback to the main track. And Isaac Castillo in the irons. And Isaac, he's been riding very well, I think, no matter where he is. Whether he's in Oakland or he's at Aqueduct. Either way, he's on our show and he's winning races.
No matter what, right? He finds the right track to be on air and get himself into the winner's circle, because this was a smart ride as well. I mean, he was sitting right off of a couple horses that were battling up front. Vincenzo tried to survive the early pace pressure of Malibu Margarita, but couldn't hold off a couple of them. Brown Don't Stop being one of them, and not a horse that was necessarily on my radar, but got the right setup and got the job done today.
A horse that could have run in the $500,000 Stallion Series race yesterday. Was he on the AEs? No, he wasn't. Anyway, he gets his maiden broken here. Brown Don't Stop at 9-1 as we head back over to Oaklawn Park. And their fifth race on the track, starter allowance, as we see a fairly contentious board right now. Not really know where to go, but number one, a la carte is your lukewarm favorite. Christian Torres aboard.
He's finished third as the favorite when in for a tag in his last two starts and ran twice at Saratoga this summer versus Tougher. I don't necessarily trust him.
Make the rider Kylie Jordan on Boat Song.
He was close to a pace that started coming apart after not breaking all that sharply and rushing up last time. He just tired a little bit late at Delaware.
Here's one that could be part of the pace. Number 3, Kingdom, coming in for David Jacobson from the Big A.
A winner two back, he was aggressively handled, and it almost paid off last time out when stepping up in class. So we'll see how they position him today on the cutback.
Reading something, it sounded like Jacobson wanted to go as number 4, Summer in Malibu, which is back to the main track.
Plenty of past success at Oaklawn, but the recent form not quite the same.
I was interested in this one. Sarah Huntsville turning back, comes out of a live field, although didn't do much running.
He didn't, but I mean, he was facing tough company. Money Supply's just on a tear right now, and a couple others returned to win.
At 19-1, we see number 6, Pass Line.
He broke his maiden last time out. The prior was a third to the aforementioned Huntsville.
Jordan Blair will send out recent maiden winner Raven's Nest.
He was a price that day. He was 30-1 when breaking his maiden on the class drop. It was a 70 buyer speed figure and also his dirt debut, taking a little bit of money right now.
Yeah, he's kind of interesting as number 8, Fan the Fire. First start for Joe Sharp and gets Lasix.
Which is a high percentage barn, but actually not really much so first off the trainer switch. He's only 9 for 99 past 5 years.
Wow. Ollie Meister from Matt Shire looking for another winner on the card.
A horse that's second off a layoff. The races in the past with competitive buyer speed figures at Oaklawn could make him a player in here, and the trainer's already off the duck at the meet already.
That's always good, as we will check in with Paul LaDuca for more on this starter allowance field. Paulie?
Yeah, Mags, this is actually a nice little race here for Colts and Geldings. I thought it was an interesting race. And, you know, when I first looked at the race, I was not in love with the 3 at all in here for David Jacobson. You know, this horse won a 16 non-2, and we'll show you that. I mean, the horse absolutely galloped that day and then came back and was aggressively handled, like Sarah said, and ran a decent third. You know, I just don't know at the starter allowance, can he keep on going? But this racetrack so far, 4 for 4 with horses right up on the pace, and I would think Kingdom's going to be right up on there, or the quick of the quick in here, so he could be very, very dangerous. And Ramon Vasquez, he is very sharp out of the gate, and he pushes forward. I think he's the horse to obviously the catch. A la carte, to me, you know, Sarah said it, the one in here is faced much better. You know, had an awkward start off the claim and then came back, was 4 wide most of the way around the racetrack. I think that horse gets a tremendous trip in here with Christian Torres. He needs to stay intact the way this racetrack is playing, but I think the one's going to be ultra tough. And then the 9 for Matt Shire. This horse was 2-5. before going on a layoff, and then came back and just ran a little bit of a clunker against Born Flawless. But, horse been off in January, and Churchill Downs was playing where kind of deep like this racetrack is, where you kind of need a start. So the 9 is definitely a player here for Matt Shire. And like Sarah said, already got a W at the meet. He goes with Ricardo Santana as main man. And JK, I know you like Ollie Meister a tiny bit here too as well.
I do, yeah. I look, you said a lot of the same things that I was feeling, Paulie, so I'll just kind of co-sign those and not be redundant. The layoff, I think, is a big thing for me. How far this horse was off since January, shows back up and runs poorly considering, but I think that there's an excuse there. I also think there's an excuse. This horse was wide all the way around the racetrack. I mean, lost a ton of ground going 7 furlongs. So you come in off a long layoff, you go 7, which might be, a tough task in its own right. You come in off of a long layoff, try 7, and you travel farther than everyone else because you've lost so much ground. I think there's a ton of excuses built in there. I do believe Ollie Meister will run better this time around, and I like the outside draw as well.
Thanks, JK. And like I was saying, Matt Shire 2 for 2 at the meet so far, looking for the natural hat trick for the barn.
It's good news for me and Jonathan, as we're now both out of our cross-country pick 5, so we need a little pick-me-up here with Ollie Meister.
7-2, a nice price as well. And like you guys said, you would have to think that he just needed that last race and although he has to do it from the outside again today.
It's always kind of a concern when they have a trip and you project to see a similar type of trip next time out. But I think that it just seemed like a race where he just needed one off of what was a lengthy layoff. And if he can get back to some of those races we'd seen in the past from him, especially at Oaklawn, he's just a main player. And I just don't fully trust a la carte. He's disappointed as a favorite twice now. And I don't like to see a horse continue to get bet and then not get the job done like that.
He's bet again. Can a la carte finally get his second win of his career? Matt Dinnerman has a call. Race 5.
We're ready to go. And Laroff, a little bit of a tardy break from both a la carte and Boat Song. Those two from the inside stalls were off second to last and last respectively. Ollie Meister on the far outside, steps on the gas, leads narrowly. Kingdom is there as well. So is Huntsville. And easing off Fan the Fire off that very contentious pace as they tear away on the lead. We come back to the front end. Ollie Meister and Kingdom are side by side. Within third, Huntsville right off of them. A la carte joins him. Boat Song in between horses has to tap on the brakes. Raven's Quest, Fan the Fire. They're together as they're really bunched up here. Summer in Malibu is second to last, but is circling the field fast. Summer in Malibu making a big move. Let's see if he can keep going after making that big move. His pass line is the trailer, hitting the top of the lane. Raven's Quest dropping right out of it. He's done. Ollie Meister continues to hang around on the lead. Kingdom struggling, dropping out. Summer in Malibu trying to continue that move that he made on the forward turn run, is battling for the win still. Ollie Meister with a furlong to go, clings on to the lead. Summer in Malibu continues to grind away. Summer in Malibu, Ollie Meister nose and nose. Summer in Malibu collars Ollie Meister to win it. Third home in the race was a la carte, and fourth was Boat Song, fifth Huntsville.
It got close, and Ollie Meister did all the dirty work, but a relentless charge from the wide Summer in Malibu, who also does love it at Oaklawn Park. It's his third win, third of his career for trainer Bentley Coombs, 10-strike racing, and CJ Hernandez.
And Matt Dinnerman picked it up. He was making that bold move on the turn and able to sustain it and just grind out the victory here over a stubborn Ollie Meister, who I agree, he did all the dirty work, but good to know that he still has some ability, as that was a much improved performance after now going second off the layoff.
Round don't stop. Definitely didn't stop going the 9 furlongs, as this is your winner of the Spendthrift Farm 2-year-old race of the day. New York bred son of Big Brown out of the micromanage mare Night Train. Yeah, that equals mile and an eighth for New York breds, I'd say. For Orlando Noda, Signature Thoroughbreds, and Isaac Castillo.
set a nice trip, stalking towards the outside. A couple of horses wanted to be more forwardly placed, and he was able to benefit from the pace that was developing up on the front end. Didn't switch leads, but still able to just eke out the victory here over Dixie Farrow, who's coming on late. Kind of an awkward trip for him because he had been in behind horses, wanted to be a little bit more forward, and then had a little something left. So maybe wanted to keep your eye on moving forward.
Yeah, he kind of ran in spots today, though Vin Santo would hang on for second place honors after setting the pace. I thought a good effort from him as well, and in on it far back, settling for fourth. Feature race coming up next here at the Big A, as currently early on in the wagering we see a New York bred, but it's not Maker's Candy, though that is Maker's Candy. They're heading over Drake's Passage, taking the early money. Much more on this race to come on America's Day at the Races.
What's better than one fill? Two fills.
That was a keen turn of speed.
2 stakes wins at 2.
And it's 2 fills.
2 5.5 Ragozins.
And the son of hard spun.
2 105 buyers, including the Kentucky Derby.
And a passion run by 2 fills.
In the last 15 derbies, no horse has been faster.
This is a serious 3-year-old.
And at 12.5, you'd better book fast. 2 fills, this year's fastest 3-year-old around 2 turns.
Adelphi Racing Club, offering a truly personal thoroughbred ownership experience.
You'll have a lot of fun and excitement, and you'll meet some great people. All the folks I've met so far at Adelphi have just been super, and I've picked up some new friendships along the way.
We're not just a syndicate, and our members aren't just investors, we are partners. Contact us online to get a taste of the Adelphi difference.
Thanks for tuning in. The Feliz Navidad gets me every time. To the program. It's America's Day at the Races, and we are proudly brought to you in part by Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. And we hope you are having a festive holiday season as they are celebrating, at least 10 Strike Racing is, out at Oaklawn Park for their win with number 4, Summer in Malibu, returning to the main track and the track that he loves most, Oaklawn Park, for his 3rd career win with CJ Hernandez in the irons for Bentley Coons.
And he had made this bold move around the turn, getting himself into position, and then kind of just kept coming at the one that was surviving the early pace pressure. Ollie Meister able to eke out and grind out the victory in here and get the win at what was a decent price, ended up paying $14 to win.
Yeah, I felt a little bit bad for Ollie Meister. Did all the dirty work. He would have to settle for second at 7-2. A la carte rounding out the trifecta, which returns $91.60 for 50 cents. back here at the Big A. Our feature race is in the paddock as we'll take a look now at your current favorite at 5-2 is number 7, Drake's Passage. He's been the beaten favorite in his last 2. Prior to that, he was a winning favorite in this year's Albany.
He's a little tough to trust now because his one attempt versus Open Company just didn't really work out all that well. He was in kind of that blanket photo in a race that was won by Winter's Lion, and then just kind of disappointing last time out in the Empire Classic. And while he was facing some good horses, it's not as though he's facing a bunch of nobodies in here today.
Exactly. We'll see what kind of trip he's able to pull, cutting back in distance to this one-turn mile as we get down to the paddock with Richie for a paddock report.
Well, we'll stay on point there with the 7 Drake's Passage. This is a horse that showed a lot of promise. Looked like he might take the next step and go on, and things just went a little bit sideways. I actually like the one-turn mile for him, even though I think he's capable of getting more ground, because he feels like, watching him, a horse that wants to get into a rhythm and doesn't want that rhythm interrupted. I don't believe he's a horse that you want to have to stop and start or make any kind of maneuvers with. So that long run down the Aqueduct backstretch should suit him well, and I think if he gets into that good rhythm, just probably settling just off of the pace, you'll see the better version of Drake's Passage. The one-horse Maker's Candy, he looks terrific. I mean, just really well turned out. Mike Maker's horses usually tend to catch your eye, and I think the one-turn mile suits him very well. Comes off a big effort, winning here at the mile distance. And a horse that I really like, and I think he looks tremendous here in the flesh. He's just carrying really good weight. Is Daddy Knows on the outside. Katie Davis does a really great job with this horse. This is a difficult horse to ride, has a tendency to want to get out. I actually like the outside post in a one-turn mile for a horse like this because it allows Katie to kind of just break quietly, let her kind of fall into his hands, and she doesn't have to get into any kind of a fight with him early, and she's got a really nice set of hands. She rides a really good race, and she seems to excel with horses that can be a little bit difficult, and I think she has Daddy's Nose whole card, and I think the outside post, as good as he looks, he's going to be a handful today.
Daddy Knows, looking for career win number 9. And now, Sarah, he's second off of a layoff. We'll go back and take a look, though, at that win 2 back, and it came at the hands, or at the feet of Sundays with Sandy, because Sundays with Sandy was, kind of firing on all cylinders down towards the inside. Daddy Knows was on the outside where he likes to be, and Katie Davis will will him to the wire.
Yeah, she does a great job with him. She's gotten to know him very well, and they've had several wins together as well. And this was the day that he was just able to get by the pace-setting Sundays with Sandy, who is a horse that I think does his best running on the front end. I think there might be a little bit more speed in here that he may not necessarily be able to control up front. And just last time, he was kind of compromised by the racetrack. He also may have needed a start coming off the break, but he ran a 93 Beyer speed figure, which is around where he has topped out in the past with 92s in his 2 prior starts to that. So I think now getting a race under his belt, getting that nice outside position, he'll be able to work out a decent trip in here.
A horse that can be difficult, as we heard Richie saying, and it feels like when you try to hold him is when he tries to go out. As you saw Katie, when she dropped his head, he ran on straight. Rocco Strong, a horse both of us are interested in, totally against the racetrack last time out, going to 7 furlongs, finally gets back to a fast track in which we saw a win, albeit against inferior 3 back.
He's just run really well as he's gradually stepped up in class. This was his win on September 21st over a fast track. As you mentioned, going the mile distance, it was for a tag, but in his start after this, he ran pretty much the same number when finishing 3rd to significantly tougher company, running behind Signator, who looks like he could be a good one for the Shug McGaughey barn, as well as Cascades, who went on to try the Cigar Mile. So I feel as though with the way that he was against the racetrack last time, a day where you wanted to be inside and close to the front, he was wide and a little bit further back. So some things to like about him on a fair track.
Kicking off the post parade, though, is number 1, Maker's Candy. He'll be looking to pair wins back-to-back.
If he can handle the Open Company and run a similar race as he did last time, he's a player I'm a little bit against.
There he goes. Rocco Strong, Michelle Giangiulia looking for another win on the card.
He's just been really running well lately, in excellent form. We'll see if he can handle this level of company on a fair surface.
Long shot, number 4, Hold the Salsa.
Kind of a little bit more of a turf horse, though he does have some dirt races in the past that maybe could flirt with the exotics in here. He will kind of likes to be forwardly placed as well.
Blinkers going on, number 5, Lunissima.
If he can get back to some of his prior races, and it's been a while, I think that he could be a little bit interesting underneath a horse that does come from off the pace, but will need to improve off his last two.
Sundays with Sandy likes to be forward, and Trevor McCarthy giving him a big warm-up.
I'm sure Trevor knows that that's where this horse wants to be early on in a race and isn't going to try to take anything away from him.
Horse taking money is number 7, Drake's Passage.
You and I are both a little bit against this one, but look, if he runs anything close to his Albany or even his race prior to that, major player.
And here's number 8, a price for the Rodriguez barn, and Ghostly Prince.
Again, mostly a turf horse, but he does have a couple of dirt races that could put him in the mix at a big price.
Number 9, Daddy Knows. He has the potential to show speed, too.
He does. He's not going to be too far off of things. I don't think that he's going to be the one setting the pace in this race, but it's not as though he'll give himself too much to do early on. He'll get into a good stalking position towards the outside.
As we check in with JK, Maker's Candy in here. Is he going to be able to pair up efforts back to back? And JK, does he have to improve off that effort last time out?
Well, the one thing I'll say about that effort last out is that you make a great point. Can he match that? It doesn't concern me as much because in the past he has run a race similar to that. Back in May 29th of 2023, he ran a nice race that matched this effort that we're seeing here. Look, I'm a big Mike Maker fan. I think Mike does an outstanding job. You give him a good horse, he'll keep the horse good. And I think that Maker's Candy, based on the field that we've seen from him, really does appreciate this one-turn configuration at Aqueduct. He's run well over the surface, and he did so with not the best and easiest of trips. I mean, he was out there in the clear, but still he lost a lot of ground going the mile and drew away for those horses late. I think that the number that he earned there is a number that I can trust because 5 races back he ran a similar number, and so I just think that maybe Mike's got him going in the right direction. So, and another thing I'll say about Maker's Candy before we go to Richie is I like the fact that this horse has some tactical speed and is drawn towards the inside. In situations like this, when I want them to be forward, I kind of like the inside draw because what's Manny going to do? Take him back, eat a bunch of dirt, and try to circle horses late? No, he's going to send them away from the inside, hold that position, and I think that that's the trip that gets Maker's Candy into the winner's circle. Richie?
Yeah, I think you make a great point, Jonathan. And some of the horses with speed to his outside, if he holds his position, he won't take that risk of getting the kickback. And we also know that Daddy Knows, who I do think is going to be forward. I agree with Sarah. I don't necessarily think he'll be on the lead. But he's a horse that wants to kind of get in his own rhythm and not be messed with too much. He's not a horse that's ever going to go all the way down to the rail. He's more comfortable running a bit wide outside of horses. And ultimately, that's why I picked him because, you know, I'm not a fan of losing ground. But for some horses, it's just the way they perform better. And I think the outside post, Daddy Knows, Katie Davis does such a good job with him. Good rider with good hands. I think he's just going to sit that good trip from the outside, and he'll be my top selection. I don't really think this horse has any chance, guys, but I would be remiss not to mention how good the 4-horse Hold the Salsa looks. This horse is just resplendent, so well turned out. Now, we know it's not a beauty contest, but, man, if a horse ever ran on their looks completely, you'd have to give this horse a hard look. Romero Mirage come off a couple days where he was sick. He looks like he's better as well, and this horse runs for the estate of Richard Lugovich, who has passed away. I knew Richard Lugovich when I was 12 years old, working on a farm out on Long Island with Dennis Brida. So go back a long way, and Hold the Salsa making a really nice physical impression. But it's all about Daddy Knows, and you'd think by now my children would understand. Daddy knows.
Nope. Mommy knows.
I was just going to say, do you have any retort to that?
I am the boss. No, I'm kidding. But yes, nice pun, Meg. We would expect nothing less from you as they head into line. Here, we were bringing up some points about the long shot in here, number 5, Looney Sema. Big price at 25-1.
He's on my now deceased cross-country pick 5 ticket, just as a horse that he has some races in the past and he should be coming from off the pace. His recent form, it's just not good, to be very frank, but there are races in the past that could make him pop into those exotics at a price, and I thought he was worth including.
Third off a layoff, Chris Griffin has a call.
And they're off. Sundays with Sandy was very slow off. It was about 8 lengths already, the trailer. There's Maker's Candy, who's got early speed, and Rocco Strong is right with that leader. It's going to be Maker's Candy and Manny Franco. They're ahead in front. Joining them towards the outside is Drake's Passage, is going to be out in the center of the racetrack, but is going to challenge this leader now. And taking back a touch as Kendrick Carmouche with Rocco Strong is back to third. Big gap already of about 5 lengths there to Daddy Knows. Is comfortable there in the center of the racetrack, is followed by Ghostly Prince to the inside. Then further back in the field comes Looney Sema with Hold the Salsa and Slow Starting. Sundays with Sandy is the trailer. Easy opening quarter, 23 seconds flat. Maker's Candy has got the lead. It's mild pressure here from Drake's Passage, is content to just stalk this pace setter right now as they've got less than a half mile to go. Rocco Strong has lost touch with those top 2. Ghostly Prince is under a drive. Daddy Knows is to the outside of Looney Sema, who does start to come on now. And Looney Sema is bringing Daddy Knows with him, and they are about 6 lengths off the lead. Second to last is Hold the Salsa. The trailer is Sundays with Sandy. Maker's Candy is still there. 45-4, that half-mile time, and Maker's Candy now gets the cue. Drake's Passage is called upon for the effort out in the center of the racetrack. These front 2 still get away here by about 4. Rocco Strong continues to chase, but Maker's Candy is still best right now. It's Maker's Candy. Drake's Passage is coming up alongside, and here's Drake's Passage ready to challenge Maker's Candy, and they are head and head down the line. It's Maker's Candy who's found more to the inside. Drake's Passage tries one more time. Maker's Candy holds on. Maker's Candy over Drake's Passage. Then came Rocco Strong and a late run from Hold the Salsa in 1 minute 34 and 4.
Well, the complexion of this race certainly got a little different at the start, with Sundays with Sandy having a poor beginning, and Maker's Candy was allowed to just cruise to the lead, although through respectable fractions. Drake's Passage glued to him the entire way, but never able to get by.
Yeah, I think those top 2 owe Sundays with Sandy a thank you card for not being a part of the early pace, because you're completely right. Everything totally changed about how this race was likely to be run early on, with a speed horse missing the break. So able to control on the front end for those top 2. Drake's Passage was put in a more forward position that he had been in more of his recent starts, and it worked out because those 2 went 1-2 around the racetrack.
Excuse me, Manny Franco for Mike Maker. Sorry. They go off as your favorite at 8-5. Drake's Passage over Rocco Strong in the long shot that Mig talked about secures a distant 4th place to spice up the superfecta.
Yeah, Mig had his eye on Hold the Salsa, who does finish there on the board at 60-1. So everything totally changed about this race, with Sundays with Sandy not breaking, but Maker's Candy able to show that he could kind of compete. And it was the 2 New York breds who finished 1-2 in this race.
As always, it pays to have a New York bred, even when you're competing in open company. 1-7-3-4 unofficially here in the feature race at Aqueduct, and it was a second leg of the cross country. Pick 5, Formful 1, as we head back over to Oaklawn Park for their 6th race on the track right now for this maiden special weight, traveling the mile to 16th. We kick things off with a long shot number 1, Justifiably So.
A second-time starter, wasn't really persevered with on debut at Saratoga, but that was a race won by General Partner, who went on to run 2nd in the Champagne.
Number 2, Geno Smith, another stretch out.
One that has gone a sprint distance before, not necessarily a trainer that's known for his stats with sprints to routes, second-timers, only 1 for 11.
Joyen Leparoux will be aboard the 8-5 favorite, Lat Long.
3 starts ago, this horse ran behind Remsen winner Dornock, then tried the turf, then ran 2nd last time out, so plenty of experience routing.
Firster from Caraconte and the Kenny McPeak barn. Common Defense went by. There's number 5, Mass Mac.
This is a 1/2 to 3 technique, and the Brad Cox barn has actually been very live so far at the meet, but this one a little bit chilly on the board, as is his other runner, left tackle.
Yeah, there he is, left tackle. I thought he was pretty green first time out.
Yeah, did finish behind another horse towards the outside that we'll get to in a moment.
Knightsbridge looks like a nice runner, though, is number 7, No Judgment. First race was good, second not so much.
Yeah, he was 3rd on debut behind Stretch Ride, who came back to win right away with improvement, then was 3rd in the Kentucky Jockey Club, but last time out, something must have happened because he just did not run.
And here is Give Me a Reason, who we were saying comes out of that Knightsbridge race and ran much better than the 6.
Yeah, 2nd on debut, 4-1 that day. Got a 72 Beyer speed figure, Churchill Downs, going the 7 furlongs. This horse is a monster pedigree. He's a 1/2 to Destin, Creative Cause, and Vexatious.
holy moly, you would think that Graded Stakes are in his future, especially being by Hot Stallion and Justify, as we check in with Paul LaDuca standing by for more on this 6th race.
Yeah, Max, I think this is a very, very good race of some colts here, and you might see some of these horses maybe on the Derby Trail next year. And you just never know. These are the type of the races that we look forward to. I think there's a lot of quality in here. You know, Sarah mentioned the 3 facing Dornoch. Yeah, I mean, obviously Dornoch, the Fulton May, just turned out to be a nice runner. And this horse was 3rd, went back to the turf, and then decent efforts. You know, the worry that you have with this horse, can this horse come from way out of it as your favorite in here? You know, the 2 Brad Cox runners in here, I really don't know what to do with. The 5 in here, Mass Mac, you mentioned, you know, half to 3 technique. He also is a half to a multiple stakes winner. And Stan the Man, I just don't know if he wants to go this far. He did show some pace, but then again, you leave Brad Cox out, it's almost like, what are you doing? Now, the 6 and the 8, they come out of the Knightsbridge race. I mean, that horse for Godolphin, the son of Nyquist, after he won that race, he went on the Derby futures. He was so impressive. And, you know, give me a reason. I thought just was able to chase. When a horse just jogs like Knightsbridge did that day in the Godolphin Silks, you know, every horse has a right to kind of give up. I thought the 8 was able to keep on chugging along in here. Although on numbers, the 3 is the horse to beat. So I see where you're going, JK. You like the Le Peru and McPeak runner. Le Peru's been riding well, too.
Yeah, look, I actually thought the 8 was going to take a lot more money towards the outside. And I look, it's 7-5 to 5-2. I don't think that that's going to make too much of a change. I think the 8 will come down a little bit. That's why I ended up landing on the 3. I thought the 8 was going to be a little overbet. I think one of these 2 horses likely wins. But for me, the 3 lat long just had a little bit more of a foundation, right? Has run 4 times already. This will be the 5th start. Has had 3 races around 2 turns. The first race was 7 furlongs. And you're talking about a horse in the 8, Give Me a Reason, who's got 1 start going 7. And for me, that's why I ended up landing on the 3. Like I said, it's not a strong opinion. I just thought the 3 might be a little bit of a better price, and I liked the fact the 3 had more experience than what the 8 has. I think one of those 2 horses will be getting their picture taken. I'm not a huge fan of the Brad Cox runner, the 5, Mass Mac? I don't know. Maggie's been helping me all day, so maybe she'll help me here.
That's as good as I can do, JK, with that one. As Paul mentioned, maybe he doesn't want to go quite this far with that pedigree. They did pay a lot, nearly $500,000 at the OBS April sale for Mass Mac, who is yet to make a fraction of that bag. Back over here at the Big A, Maker's Candy for who else? Mike Baker, of course. Paradise Farms Corp getting the win with Manny Franco aboard.
Was able to control this race when we saw one of the other pace players not get out of the gate all that quickly. Took advantage of that inside position and early speed and ended up just taking this field gate to wire, as we saw this be a race that was dominated on the front end.
By Twirling Candy out of the Bluegrass Cat Mare Purple Cat, and bred in New York by Newtown Anderson.
The Blood Horse Plus preview again? Or recap?
What?
You're reading the pedigree of the horse. It sounds like we're doing Blood Horse again.
Well, you know, give the parents a little credit, I suppose.
No, he ran well.
I thought you... Never mind. Really long story about Sarah and I was like, oh, man, I messed up again. But cross country, pick 5, follow along. You got, if you got through the first leg, congrats, and best of luck moving forward as Maker's Candy, much shorter price than Brown Don't Stop. One more race from Aqueduct in the sequence, but we're going to head back over to Oaklawn for this maiden special weight, 115,000 on the line, traveling the mile of 16 for these 2-year-olds. And you always get excited when you see these 2-year-olds stretching out, as Paulie said. After Knightsbridge just broke his maiden in his first start, he went on the Derby Futures pool, and a very talented runner for the Mott Barn.
Yeah, it's exciting when you have these horses that are sort of Derby dreaming, and we see Connections get a little bit ambitious with some of their horses as well, and some of them rightfully so. I mean, that's kind of the goal that many aim for, most really, when you have a 2-year-old that is having some ability and has the pedigree to possibly stretch out in distance. Are you a little surprised, too, that the 3 is favored over the number 8?
purely on, I'm surprised at the disparity in odds. Like, I thought they would be very close.
I thought so too. And
maybe it's a negative sign with the 8. But another thing I wanted to ask you about the 8, have you given any credence? Because it felt like last year and the year before that, when these bigger barns, for whatever reason, when they actually prepared their horses at fairgrounds and shipped them in to Oaklawn, those were the horses that were running best.
It's not a trend that I've noticed, but I think it's definitely interesting to point out because they have races for 2-year-olds there at fairgrounds. So
the pot's not as big.
Exactly. So then thinking, okay, they might be sending them here to take more advantage of those purses, and that's a great option to have. So perhaps maybe it would have been more of a negative sign had they stayed over at the track where this one was training. But I mean, Steve Asmussen's a trainer that has horses all over the place. So
valid. But I will say this too: the fairgrounds to train on, the surface is far more forgiving than the Oaklawn surface. So it also feels like those bigger barns keep their nicer horses, as they think they are, there to train and ship them in for the bigger purse money over at Oaklawn as they head into line. Even money, though, on Lat Long. Will career start number 5 be the winning one? He has hit the board in all 4 of those starts, including at today's distance with a 2nd and a 3rd. We head out to Matt Dinnerman for the call of this made special weight at Oaklawn Park.
Comet Defense goes it. And to the outside, Give Me a Reason. Give Me a Reason. Go again. We're ready to go. Looks like Gino's Myth straightening him up. He's going to back out from post position 2. Looks like they're going to reload Gino's Myth, who's a little bit playful behind the gate here. Gino's Myth back in. We're ready. And Leroff having to take up right at the start. No Judgment. Lat Long, Comet Defense, the first-time starter as early speed. Give Me a Reason up close to the pace. Justifiably So down on the inside, charges into the turn, battling for the lead early. Justifiably So hugs the rail, kicks to a 3/4 length lead. Comet Defense on a hold 2nd. Give Me a Reason off the pace now in 3rd in a good stocking position, joined by Lat Long. And then Left Tackle in the pink cap, easing back to 5th, just 3 lengths off the lead. A length to his stablemate Mosmok, 4 more to No Judgment. And Gino's Myth well behind the rest as they swing up the backside, Justifiably So. And Nick Juarez lead the parade in the first leg of the late pick 5 as a length edge on Lat Long, who strides up nicely to take 2nd, come up and put some pressure on Justifiably So, who only leads by a half length, approaching the half-mile marker. In 3rd, Mosmok getting closer without being asked now. Then Give Me a Reason, sent along on the outside of Comet Defense, who loses position. Left tackle between horses, still 3 behind, but under pressure down on the rail. Still a gap back to No Judgment. Gino's Myth, it appears he's been outrun as they round the far turn. Lat Long and Julian Leparoux sail to the front, and at this point it looks like they're cruising. Lat Long approaching the quarter pole, length in front. Justifiably So dropping back. Give Me a Reason in an all-out drive now. It's all Lat Long's race to lose at this point. He's going strong, turns for home, and gives him the slip. Approaching the furlong pole, he's opened up to a 5-length lead. A couple of them weakening, had to take up late. Common Defense, the stablemate to Lat Long. He's charging fast now. He's finding a good stride, and all of a sudden Lat Long's getting tired in this final 16th, but he just rebroke when Common Defense came alongside. Lat Long, a nice effort. Common Defense 2nd. That's a 1st and 2nd place finish for the Ken McPeak barn. And 3rd home in the race. Didn't quite see who ran 3rd. I think it might have been Mosmok and Left Tackle with Give Me a Reason.
Huge result for the Kenny McPeak barn as interesting race. I mean, yes, Lat Long proved best, and I think he kind of got lost when he hit the front end and when his stablemate came to his hip. As you can see, he's kind of veering in with Julian Leparoux. Yeah, he bounced off the rail. But once his stablemate gets to him, look at him pin his ears and drop down back down into his stride. He just needed a little company, Sarah.
I guess so. I mean, and sometimes you might see a horse waiting on another horse and then wanting them to get even closer to the point where they don't get the job done. But he really did pick things up and extend the margin once his stablemate was close by. And huge result, as Matt Dinnerman alluded to. The Ken McPeak barn runs 1-2. Kind of a weird trip for the number 4, who ended up finishing second, who kind of seemed to be nowhere and then was up close. And then
he broke on top. And then he dropped back, and then he came on again. It was he's one to watch. Son of Garrett Conti back over here at the Big A. We owe you the nightcap in the third leg of the cross country pick 5, as it does feature a lot of horses that have turf form, but that one right there is your current lukewarm favorite at 7-2. Shared Success going first time out for Michelle Nevin.
Catholic Boy standing at Claiborne Farm.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
Welcome back to the program. It's America's Day at the Races, live racing from Aqueduct as well as Oak Lawn Park here on FS1, and we are getting in the festive spirit. Hope everyone enjoys Christmas music. These horses are in the paddock for today's 9th race, and we are traveling the 1.125 distance for this state bred allowance, and a horse that is getting it back out to this distance with blinkers on. First time for the Mike Baker barn is Uncle Marty. And Mig, are we looking for a late Mike Baker double here?
Yeah, I mean, Mike Maker's got 2 in here, one that's coming off the turf, taking a lot of money, but I prefer the 3, Uncle Marty. Love the way he looks. He's just extremely well turned out. I like the addition of blinkers, stretching of the mile here. I think there's just a lot to like about the 3 Uncle Marty. You get Kendrick Carmouche, and he could not look any better, which is usual for the Mike Maker runners. Listen, Laurel Valley looks terrific from a physical perspective, but I'm also looking at a horse that looks like a turf horse. You know, you can go back when he was with Todd Pletcher, obviously Hall of Famer. This horse was beaten for maiden 25 on the dirt before switching to the turf and finding, you know, his good form. So I think people get a little bit lost this time of year with horses with good turf form, and almost take it for granted that they'll carry over to the dirt. The 10 Engineer Empire looks fantastic. Obviously, something went amiss last time, but from a physical perspective, he probably would get the paddock check mark. You can see the influence of Empire making this a big, solid individual. He's drawn towards the outside, and I think it gives him an opportunity to get into a good rhythm under Dylan Davis.
He surely is handsome, but he only has one race that makes him a minor player at best, I'd say, in here, though we'll see if he can build upon it. The problem with him, Sarah, is that while he runs away and hides from this mile and an eighth, in this mile and an eighth race from this field, none of the other contenders in here have gone on to do anything.
No, he was beating up on what has kind of proven to be a group of nobodies. And while he was winning impressively and did earn a 77 Beyer speed figure for that effort, going today's mile and an eighth distance, it was kind of the comebacker story last time with both him and Kid Billy for the Mott Barn. And Kid Billy had actually defeated some okay horses, and both of them returned to not really do any running whatsoever last time. We saw Kid Billy yesterday come back and not really run at all. These are two different horses, two different barns, but you kind of wonder what you're going to get from him today.
Absolutely. He was done going into the turn. As we kick off the post parade here, we'll see number 2, Be of Courage. First, he's a turf horse. Here's number 3, Uncle Marty. Blinkers going on.
Turf horses is the theme of this race, but Uncle Marty has at least run well on the dirt.
Number 4, Shared Success, taking a lot of early money.
He is, and he's one of those true dirt horses coming in from Finger Lakes.
Horse be with you for Chris Englehart.
Where's Baby Yoda?
I know. Not riding him, because Javier Castellano is. Number 6, Street Cop Officer, will go out for Rachel Sells.
A horse that's finished third in his last 2, behind Alternate Reality, who we did see run third here the other day.
Number 8, Supreme Being's going to hope for some pace to come back to him.
And comes out of the same race where Engineer Empire didn't really fire, that race won by Bourbon Chase.
Laurel Valley, one of those turf horses Megs was talking about, at 7-2, he went by number 10, Engineer Empire.
The big question mark of this race, because we'll see what we end up getting from him now, second off of that lengthy layoff.
Du Libre for Ronnie Breed and Jackie Davis.
Another one that is one of the dirt horses within this kind of turf horse field, but his recent form leaves a little bit to be desired in where he fits on a class level.
There's the one, Noble Huntsman, 17-1, Heman Harkey from Mitch Friedman.
You know, I think he's a little bit interesting. He's only had the one start on the dirt, which was a second place finish in and off the turf race behind Z-Bear, who's a pretty good New York bred for the Linda Rice barn. And I think that he's more of a truer turf horse, and he'll have to improve a little bit, but at a big price, I'd put him in underneath somewhere.
He will be wearing those 2 aluminum pads for this start here as we check in with JK for his thoughts on this field.
Yeah, it's just kind of a new thing for me where, you know, it's so often at Aqueduct in the winter, you get these situations where you have turf horses that are running on the dirt. And a lot of times you say, that's a turf horse. This horse can't win on the dirt. And often that is a good assessment to make, but I think that sometimes in certain situations, there is a little bit of value on taking a horse that has a style, a forward style on the grass, and happens to have numbers that just kind of stand out in this group, depending on what figures you look at. The 2, Be of Courage, has some nice numbers as well. But I just ended up landing on the 9, drawn towards the outside, has some tactical speed, should be forwardly placed a little bit. Manny Franco, an unbelievable finisher. So when the real running happens late, when they turn for home, Manny will be there to kind of to boot Laurel Valley home. Laurel Valley also switching back to the Lasix, which I think is a positive. I thought this race was a little bit wide open. I thought there's a couple horses you can have in here, but nailing it down to 1, it would definitely be the 9, Laurel Valley.
All right, JK, going with the turf horse, which you could make the assessment, like you said, of a horse that has just gotten better, and so could transition back to the dirt and show that he's just an improved horse.
These are the kinds of horses that I generally try to play against completely, but with him in this field of horses where most of them have done their best running on the grass, I just feel as though he could end up being the one that's controlling the pace, and that gives him an edge.
For more on Uncle Marty, we'll check in with Richie.
Can I just say, full disclosure, this race is a complete head scratcher for me. Nobody really overly stood out from physical perspective. The whole group looked fairly good. I really, honestly, couldn't make heads or tails of it. I went with Uncle Marty just because he was the horse that kind of attracted me the most in the paddock. I liked the way he looked warming up. I had my reservations about the mile and an eighth, but this was truly a handicapping conundrum to me.
Meg, if it makes you feel any better, I've always thought that Uncle Marty does want distance on the dirt. I remember talking to Linda Rice first time out, and I said, why are you running this horse on the turf? Because he's bred to be more of a dirt horse. And she said, honestly, I just wanted the distance. And then she sprinted him on the dirt throughout until she dropped him in class and he won an off the turf race.
We were there, and you lamented not picking him. I remember it very clearly.
I was incredibly disappointed in myself, but over at Oakland, they did DQ number 8, put him 5th, and elevated number 5 in that race, Mass Mac. So Brad Cox running 3rd and 4th there behind the 2 Kenny McPeak runners. Horses circling behind the gate, Sarah, and you did go with the 10 in here on top, Engineer Empire, putting some faith in this horse to get back on track.
Very little. I originally had some interest in the number 7, who Spilks was coming in from Parks, who had I had a little bit more faith in him handling the dirt and the distance, but he ended up not playing today. So we'll see what we get from Engineer Empire, because I just didn't want to take what is now favoritism on Laurel Valley, who is not proven on the surface to have ever run a race fast enough to be competitive. But I couldn't leave him out. I felt he could be in front. I think he's a better horse now than he was in the past. And I think that, too, Mike Maker is a trainer that his turf horses can run kind of surprisingly well at times on the dirt, even if they are more turf types.
I was actually corrected by someone. It's Spilkus.
Spilkus?
Yeah.
It's not Spike, so.
Spilkus. Yiddish.
He's not here, so we don't have to worry about him.
They are heading into the gate here for our final race and a wide open affair, as Richie was saying. We're seeing 7-2 favoritism now going back to 3-1 for number 4. That is Shared Success, who does have overall the most accomplished dirt form, as we get it up to Chris Griffin for the call.
Octu Lieber, last to load. Octu Lieber goes in. All set. And they're off. Shared Success right out to the front. Hard Scent is Noble Huntsman wants to be on the front end, but they are stacked up there. They're going to go into that first turn, and here comes Horse Be With You, and Horse Be With You is now joined by Laurel Valley. It's Laurel Valley who emerges with the front. Laurel Valley would take him into that turn. Horse Be With You is back there in second, 3 wide. That's Engineer Empire. They're followed by Shared Success, who broke on top, is now in the 4th position. At the rail, Noble Huntsman, Be of Courage, is moving to the outside of that one, has now secured the 5th position as they work to the backstretch. Uncle Marty, Kendrick Carmouche out in the center of the racetrack, wanting to go. Street Cop Officer, Eric Cancel is just tugging at Cancel, wants to go, is just reined back in. There is Street Cop Officer, now more settled. Second to last, towards the back end of the field. There comes Octu Lieber and the trailer, Supreme Being. 23-4, the opening quarter mile. It's Laurel Valley, and Laurel Valley is still in front. Engineer Empire is right there from second, 48.52 for a half-mile time. Here comes Be of Courage, more settled in the 3rd position, 3 wide. Just off of them is Shared Success. Noble Huntsman is rallying on, has moved to the outside of Horse Be With You. Also trying to run on, more settled. Street Cop Officer is now hemmed in here by Uncle Marty. The rest with some running to do. It's Octu Lieber and Supreme Being from the back of the pack. The new leader is Engineer Empire. Engineer Empire went 113 flat for 3/4 of a mile, but Shared Success has had a nice journey, and here comes Shared Success just off that pace setter. Engineer Empire's got the lead at the top of the stretch. It's Engineer Empire who now kicks on, and Dylan Davis gives Engineer Empire the cue, and Engineer Empire is disappearing from the field. It is still Shared Success who's chasing Noble Huntsman down towards the inside. Horse Be With You. The rest with a lot to do as they approach the 16th pole. Engineer Empire is well clear, 5 in front. It's going to be Engineer Empire to win impressively in the finale. Engineer Empire over Shared Success. Then Horse Be With You, Noble Huntsman, Supreme Being. Final running time, 1:51.4.
All he needed was a mile and an eighth, and he gets back to his impressive ways, much like the way in which he broke his maiden. It's number 10, Engineer Empire. Congratulations, Christophe Clement and Dylan Davis, and well done you, Sarah.
Thanks. I guess he just needed a group of turf horses and a nice trip off of Laurel Valley, who is indeed a turf horse with dirt horses rounding out the exacta. And here, Noble Huntsman got a little bit interesting late, kind of a little bit all over the place. But yeah, Engineer Empire able to rebound after a very subpar effort last time, sat the trip, and ran a respectable race in here.
Yeah, and I think that the main lesson in this race was play against the turf horses. Like you said, Noble Huntsman ran fine, but Laurel Valley really much an underlay getting to the main track for the first time in a long time. And Engineer Empire, watching his replays, he kind of struck me as a horse that if he was going to show up, it should be at this distance, because it felt like he was a big horse, as Richie said, that needed to get in a rhythm. And these two-turn races, a little slower pace, allow them to do that.
Precisely. I think this is a performance that may be a little bit flattering because of who he was facing, kind of like his maiden winning score, but take nothing away from him. He got the job done. He sat a good trip today, and he just ended up being much the best in this field.
And you get a nice 9-2 on him, 10-4-5-1 unofficially in the nightcap from Aqueduct. Dylan Davis records his second win, and that was the third leg in the cross-country Pick 5. More to come on America's Day at the Races.
Connect, a Grade 1 winning millionaire, now making his mark as a sire. With Grade 1 winner Rattle and Roll in his first crop, along with Grade 3 winner Hidden Connection, and stakes winners The Alice Look, and Implicated in his second. With a full book bred last year, there is more quality in the pipeline. Connect, a proven sire in the making, standing at Lane's End.
Welcome back. 'Tis the season to head downtown to Manhattan, as it really is a special time of year in the city. It's America's Day at the Races, and we are brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. The love of the race. Check out americasbestracing.net today. Thanks for joining us here on Fox Sports 1 as the nightcap just concluded here at the Big A. It was all about number 10, Engineer Empire, son of Empire Maker. Boy, he looks like his sire.
Yeah, he looks like a big dude out there. Look, he has some questions to answer coming into this race. It was kind of a subpar non-effort last time out, but he was also coming off a significant layoff, and he answered all of those questions today. It was a pretty fair 9-2 if you thought he was going to get back to his maiden breaking score, because this was a group of horses who a lot of them had run better races on the grass, and we see these types of races get misbet frequently. And Laurel Valley went off as a short price. I was a little worried he might wire the field. That's what he tried to do, but you could tell once we got to the stretch and the real running started, he's a turf horse.
And although it's an exaggerated example with Engineer Empire, he is the perfect example to show when we talk about the difference between 1-turn and 2-turn races. Despite it only being a furlong more, this configuration around the 2 furlongs, 2-turn 9 furlongs allows a horse to get in a rhythm, and I think that's what Engineer Empire ultimately appreciates as he returns $11 for the third leg in of this cross-country Pick 5 follow-along. Nearly 80,000 in the pool, and we have 2 more races to go back at Oaklawn. Their 7th race getting underway. Claiming 15,000, going the 5.5 furlongs. A lot about some speed in here. If you have it, flaunt it. It feels like number 10 might have it, as we'll get to him in a moment. But we kick things off with number 1. That's Del Moon.
This horse would be a little bit of a surprise. This is the trainer that's only had 1 winner at Oaklawn over the past 5 years and 35 to start.
Manny Esquivel will climb aboard Citrus Bay.
Returns on short rest, having just run on the 9th. He wasn't a factor that day and is a big price today.
Turn back for Dan Ward, taking enormous money as efficiency.
He's second off a layoff, kind of a speed and fade last time out on a sloppy sealed surface, but I do like the cutback in distance for him.
Number 4, a long shot, Easy Big Boy.
It's been a little while since he's seen the winner's circle. Last one at Lone Star earlier this year, going 7 furlongs.
Second start for the Joe Sharp barn is number 5, Under the Gun.
And we'll see what he does now switching over to this barn for the second time going out for them. It has some races to get back to that could be a factor here.
Number 6, Holding Pattern, a big price on him as he's off the layoff.
We haven't seen him since the Oaklawn meet last year. He does have 2 wins here in 14 tries.
Seems like turf to dirt is often a successful theme, though I think Marvelous Thunder would be a surprise.
He's run so much faster on the turf throughout his career. I agree.
Malibu SS taking some nibbles for Carl Broberg.
Yeah, a horse that is coming in from Remington Park. Ran okay at a big price last time out.
Here's number 9, Bella's Prayer.
Ships in from Horseshoe, Indianapolis, and does go third off a layoff. Caught a wet track last time out.
Would have to get faster. Number 10, Good Scout, could be the speed of the speed.
I think this one is a little bit interesting. Going first off the claim here, comes out of a 5.5 furlong sprint at Louisiana Downs.
Shack's Way could apply some pressure, dropping out of a fairly live field at Delaware.
Yeah, and even 2-back was running against some decent horses, Ego Man, Colonel Bowman, and did finish third that day.
Trainer Danelle Durham picked up their first win of the year, sending another one out in Gold Baron.
Winner last time out, claimed from the Steve Asmussen barn, a horse that's a little bit more lightly raised than many others, and maybe you think this one has some upside, but would need to improve a little bit.
Well, we mentioned Shack's Way, I think has some back class, and for more on him, we check in with Paulie.
Yeah, he does have some back class in here, Maggie. And you make a good point. What gives here between the 10 and 11? I think they're going to be blazing up front. Ramon Vasquez could be a little bit more aggressive on Shack's Way. Maybe he needs the lead more than the 10. And he has races, 4 races under his belt where, Good Scout is coming off a mini bit of a layoff since August. Good Scout, Jonas Gibson in the Fleury Race Stable, like we said, been dropping horses. But this isn't, to me, that big of a drop, although he is a 10-time winner. The 5 in here, Under the Gun for Joe Sharp, drops after showing speed and then kind of just backing up, drops to 15 for Ricardo Santana. Joe's horses so far this meet have not run well at short odds, but this horse has a first and a third here at Oaklawn. I thought Malibu SS, you mentioned the Carl Broberg runner, had a look in here. JK and I are both listen, I picked the 11, and 11 is getting to 2-1 now, which is a ridiculous price. But the 3's the horse to beat. I mean, this horse, since getting blinkers, has been a little bit better. Dan Ward taking over the training. Jerry Hollendorfer used to have this horse, who was obviously Dan Ward was his assistant, so he knows this horse a little bit. Nick Juarez is a guy cutting back a distance that is aggressive, so I think he can stay close with the 3, although, you know, I picked the 11, JK. I think the 3 could be sitting in a good spot.
I like the 3 quite a bit, Paulie. I understand your points with the 11. It's pretty simple for me with the 3. I watched that last race, and I felt as if that race kind of fell apart. And a lot of times when you see races that fall apart, I like to look for the horse that I think maybe was responsible for it falling apart, or someone who kind of made a move in to the fact that that race was falling apart, and to me that was definitely efficiency. I thought moved a little bit early to the lead, the race fell apart, therefore efficiency stopped running as well as he was and ended up running 4th in there. But I thought that he made the move that broke the race down, and that for me is why I landed on efficiency. I like him quite a bit here, especially at 7-2. He's turning out to be at 7-2, turning out to be one of my favorite plays of the day. I like efficiency quite a bit, Mags.
All right, efficiency. Are you efficient, Sarah?
Sometimes.
I think you are. I think you are.
It depends on the day.
Yeah, you actually are very efficient. I will give you credit because your handwriting just speaks volumes as to how neat it is. I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit interested and maybe overmatched here slightly, but number 10, Good Scout.
That's what I picked.
Oh, okay, good. We're on the same wavelength here. 10-time winner. Looks to be the speed of the speed. Love this 5.5 furlong distance. Jonas Gibson, his trainer, as he does go first off the claim for the barn, is enjoying a auspicious start to the meet to boot.
Yeah, I think this horse is super alive, and you're getting a slightly better price than you are with a horse that was 10-1 on the morning line and is now your current 9-5 favorite in the number 11 Shack's Way. A horse that, yes, figures on paper, but when you see a situation like that and you kind of know that you're never going to get that price that a horse is on their morning line, I didn't necessarily expect 9-5 on that one. So I like the price that we're currently getting on Good Scout, a horse that I think comes in with some good form, and I agree, it could be the speed of the speed.
They are heading into line as 9-5 on Shack's Way, getting a little class relief for Greg Compton. Ramon Vasquez in the irons. We'll see how much pressure he applies to Good Scout. A lot of speed from the outside as we get out to Matt Ditterman for the call. Race number 7 from Oaklawn Park.
Working with Good Scout to take his spot of the gate. Still working with Good Scout. Good Scout goes it. Under the gun. Shack's Way. And 2 more runners to complete the line. Gold Baron to the outside post. And Holding Pattern to post position number 6. Here's Holding Pattern, the first one to come up. Gold Baron to the outside. We kick off the late pick 4 here. They're going 5.5 furlongs. And Laroff. Uneventful start. Good Scout put into play early. Shack's Way is there as well. Those two get acquainted on the front end. They open up here about a length on Under the Gun, who eases off his third off the top pair, who kick on together. Good Scout inside and Shack's Way outside. Those two locking horns, and they open up 2 now on Under the Gun in third. Gold Baron to the outside of him. A space of 3 to Efficiency, who's passing both Citrus Bay and Del Moon. Marvelous Thunder is next as they're strung out. He's about 9 or 10 behind. find another 3 to Malibu SS has got to get going. So does Bella's Prayer. One runner beaten for Easy Big Boy, and that is Holding Pattern as they come to the top of the lane. And Shaq's Way kicking away from Good Scout, who's back in second on the rail. Gold Baron trying to reel him in from third. Efficiency not going to get it done. There's a furlong to go, and Good Scout still in front. Now Efficiency finds a second lease of life, and he's flying on the outside. And Efficiency and Nick Juarez taking the lead. Malibu SS is charging like a rocket too, but Efficiency's going to get there. Efficiency won it over Malibu SS. Shaq's Way third, Gold Baron fourth.
All right, Efficiency for Dan Ward. Nick Juarez turned back in distance was all he needed when he caught that optimal pace tool to close into between Good Scout and your favorite in here, Shaq's Way. They were soft and ripe for the picking, and he would do just that with Nick Juarez aboard.
Yeah, able to get the right kind of setup in here and come charging from off the pace. Jonathan Kinchin liked this one a little bit, able to get this one home to the winner's circle. And you got, I guess, a fair enough price because the horse taking all the money ended up fading. I think he ended up finishing third.
Yeah, you went off at 5-2 as we will bring you official prices. Who was flying on late there?
The number 8.
Who was Malibu SS. Made it pretty tight for Carl Broberg. In the end, Efficiency, your unofficial winner. As we continue to recap some of the stakes action that took place here at the Big A yesterday. $500,000 on the line for this division of the New York Stallion Series Stakes. It was the 5th Avenue for the 2-year-old fillies. 7 furlongs. Great trip and ride by Javier Castellano aboard My Shady Lady.
A horse that had her maiden race to get back to and had been in against some tough stakes waters. Hadn't really shown up quite as much, but she was able to get the right kind of trip and setup in here today, saving all the ground. As you mentioned, a great ride up the rail by Javier Castellano. And while there were a lot of interesting pedigrees and perhaps some horses underneath with some trips, she just ended up being the one who got the right kind of setup, had the race to go back to, and was able to get the job done.
And she's been a fairly consistent type. She would get the win for Carlos David. She would survive a arguably frivolous trainer's claim of objection with Sun and Wind. Rudy Rodriguez lodging interference down the stretch. And she did drift out, but she was well clear, and she would be crowned victorious in the 5th Avenue division of the New York Stallion Series Stakes.
Yeah, she got the job done. A couple of horses underneath at prices. Walk With Me for David Duggan, perhaps one who had a little bit of a trip. And then even an interesting first-time starter, the number 9, who went out, who had some good works coming in. Perhaps one to keep your eye on moving forward, but she kind of looked like the class of this field on paper as far as who was proven so far, and it ended up playing out that way on the racetrack.
Huge day for freshman sire Solomini, as one of his progeny would also take the Los Al Futurity.
Yeah, kind of the other Bob Baffert in a way.
Exactly that. But My Shady Lady, a daughter of Solomini as well. Well, the gals on the desk are going to say goodbye. I owe Chris Griffin one, as he is down from the booth and about to take my place. Sarah, as always, it's been a pleasure. You'll be replaced by Richard Migliori.
I will be, and fine replacement at that.
Exactly. Stay tuned. The guys take over here on America's Day at the Races on FS1.
Into second. Nashville dropping out of it, and then Collusion Illusion. What a spectacular return for Charlatan, who will romp in the run-happy Malibu Stakes by 4.5 emphatic lengths. Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new king.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. AmericasBestRacing.net is a sport for you.
At Three Chimneys, our name is our promise.
our commitment to quality, our customer, and most importantly, the horse is at the heart of who we are. For over half a century, the storied Stallion Station and Nursery have been a place where dreams are born. From Horse of the Year, the mighty Seattle Slew, to Horse of the Year and modern-day breed shaper Gunrunner, we've been defined these past 50 years by the company we've kept. Three Chimneys, where dreams are born.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
The Airbnb, it wasn't pre-planned. When we bought the third and final tract of land to reassemble the farm, there was this magnificent hand-done timber stone home of 5,000 square feet, and that's something that we really needed. And so we decided to do the Airbnb, and it's been good. A lot of people have come, you get a chance to share the farm. They have the option of taking a tour, and my wife Angie gives a tour. It's probably a 2-hour tour. It really wasn't done from a motivation of revenue, even though there's a revenue component. It was really to share the farm and have people spend a couple days, and a lot more intimacy if you spend 2 days on a place versus a 2-hour tour. So everybody that's been has loved it, and the first guest was Gladys Knight when we did the Toba event here, so that was a great way to start it off. The tours are actually very busy, and I find it's a great way to share the industry and to explain to lots of neophytes or people that only hear about the business from afar, particularly those that might have a negative connotation about the business, to see how things are actually done, how foals are really cared for, mare stallions are cared for, and the love of the horse. I think every time someone can have a great experience and tell somebody who tells somebody, it's good in a very small way. It's good for the business, and the more exposure we have, when you're proud of what you do and the ethics of your business, and the more people you share that with, the better it is for the business.
That is Hillendale Farm, and it's brought to you in part by Hillendale at Alapa, where the obscure becomes obvious. America's Day at the Races, and hey, we got a new crew here. Chris Griffin, joined by the Mig, Richie Migliorian. Happy to be next to you. Look at this. Here we go.
This is terrific. Really a pleasure, and honestly, I'm excited to work with you. We're not as easy on the eyes as the last team, but we'll do the best we can. And I love that Hillendale at Alapa. You could just feel the history oozing out of the pores of that place. And every time I look at Curlin, all I see is a reincarnation of Man O' War.
We still got plenty of racing action to come from Oaklawn Park, and let's send it down to Hot Springs, Arkansas right now as we take a look at that 7th race. And you saw the winner there, Efficiency. Nick Juarez was aboard. Horse came up the outside, kind of got that clear running room and just rolled right by.
Yeah, it feels like the racetrack at Oaklawn has been very fair. Horses have been able to win from anywhere. Speed always seems to be something that does well there, but I think you've seen just as many closers get it done. And here's a horse that made his last start at Delta Downs. And I'm always tracking, Chris, where horses are coming, what jurisdictions are coming from that are winning. We've had a lot of horses coming out of Kentucky winning early at this Oaklawn meeting.
Yeah, we're going to have Paul LaDuca joining us from Oaklawn Park. We're going to have Jonathan Kinchin with his selections as well. You see Efficiency getting the job done at that 5-2 price, and some nice payouts there at Hot Springs, Arkansas. Still 3 races to go, and we're going to take a look at that cross-country pick 5 because it started here at Aqueduct, and it kicked off with a nice winner at 9-1 Brown Don't Stop, that $21 payoff. You caught the favorite, Engineer Empire. Now 2 to go in that cross-country pick 5.
Yeah, it's been a tough wager. We've had a couple long shots in both places, but Brown Don't Stop, interesting. Isaac Castillo, you look up, he's winning races at Oaklawn. You look again, he's winning races at Aqueduct. He is racking up the frequent flyer miles.
Frequent flyer miles, indeed. Isaac Castillo winning, and that's what you got to do, right? You got to travel, you got to make it happen, you got to get cross country.
Well, exactly, and you go where you need to go to make hay when the sun shines.
All right, we'll find out what happens here in the second two legs, or the last two legs, I should say, of the cross-country pick 5. Race 8 is coming up at Oaklawn Park, and again, it's an allowance optional claimer, $80,000, that purse $140,000. Coastal Invasion, 1-for-1 in the career. You're going to see Florent Giroux, Brad Cox teaming up in here. The horse is going to be even money, but only one lifetime starter.
Yeah, but impressive on debut, a horse that showed good speed that day, Florent Giroux. Seems like Brad Cox's go-to guy, right? When he really likes one, he's looking for Florent, and they're just a formidable combination.
All right, we'll find out what happens in that 8th race. We got plenty more to talk about in that late pick 3, but there was some stakes racing action yesterday at Hot Springs, Arkansas. Everything Hot Springs, Arkansas at the Tinsel Stakes. Of course, we're in the month of December. You would see the Tinsel Stakes and War Campaign. Really nice horse here, got the job done. And what did you think from this effort? A little bit of moisture on the track, but just, gutted it out.
And honestly, he was always traveling like a winner, really cruising up in hand under Manny Esquivel. And got kind of that easy pass run, right? Where the rail was vacated, he never had to deviate from his path. He drifted a little bit late there, but he was clear. And they're just a really nice effort from the winner, and a terrific trip.
Yeah, we'll find out from Paul LeDuc. I think he's got some thoughts about the Tinsel Stakes. But when you see Manny Esquivel, you see Phil Simms teaming up like that, winning that stakes race at Oaklawn Park, it kind of sets him up for the rest of the campaign too, because it's a little bit of a long season there at Oaklawn.
It's a long season there, 5 months now, and they have such a comprehensive series of races in every division. And of course, obviously, the main goal for these older horses would be that Oaklawn Park handicap.
All right. Speaking of Paul LeDuc, let's welcome him. Let's here at the desk for the first time. Paul, you're down there trackside. How's it going at Hot Springs? And what about War Campaign yesterday in the Tinsel Stakes? I think we're not going to have Paul just yet. We're going to have to fill a little bit, but Meg, that's what we do best, right? We got that late pick 3 coming up at Oaklawn Park, and we've got plenty to talk about with the Stallion Series Stakes that we saw yesterday right here at Aqueduct. I know everybody's had kind of an opinion and talked about that, and we've got something else coming up a little bit later on about Chelsea Bailey, a nice rider that's at Oaklawn Park, and we're sending it right back to Oaklawn because Paul LeDuc has got his mic up and running. Paul, what's going on? Let's try it again. The Tinsel Stakes, run it back.
Yeah, I just wanted to compliment you, Chris. I caught a couple doubleheaders in my life, but this is an impressive doubleheader from calling a race card to being a host. A lot of people don't realize doing live TV and being a host, very, very difficult. Kudos to you, my friend. Back to yesterday with War Campaign. I think the key to the engine, and when I talked to Phil after the race, Phil Simms, the trainer, he said this horse needs to be interested from the get-go. And he said nothing against Corey Lanery, nothing at all. But he said he's been dropping the horse back a little bit too far, and the horse has had too much to do. If you look at his 3 wins, 1 at Churchill Downs, the other 2, actually 2 at Churchill Downs, and yesterday, he hit the front when he got to the far turn or made his move at that time. He wasn't way behind horses. I thought it was a tremendous ride by Emmanuel Esquivel. And a horse that could be ascending right now, been working very well. I do think the wet trap helped him a little bit, but he's getting good at the right time.
Thanks, Paul. Paul's going to be down there all season long, so he's going to be able to watch War Campaign and a big grinding effort like that. Big horse like that, kind of just fending him off. I mean, you've ridden many horses. I mean, they just kind of got to get in that rhythm and get in that groove just to kind of hold off the competition.
Well, and that's why the trip that he got was so great. Not only did he get to save ground, he didn't have to stop and start. It's hard for big horses that build into that rhythm and that can stay to be able to steady and then pick it up again. So for him to have this unencumbered trip without traffic and save that ground, he just really worked out a beautiful trip. And I'm actually going to be joining Paul down there on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, so I'm looking forward to that. Me and Paul are going to ring in the new year together.
That's fantastic. Looking forward to that. Great action at Hot Springs, of course. And then we got the 8th race coming up. We got to build a little bit of that bankroll, actually, to send you guys down there. But taking a look at the 8th, it's going to be 6 furlongs, and you do get this optional $80,000 claiming race. And at 4 to 5 now, Coastal Invasion. Over a sloppy main track last time at Churchill Downs, a 2-year-old filly, 1-for-1, Florent Giroux, Brad Cox. I mean, these are connections that make a lot of sense at 4 to 5.
They make a lot of sense. And, listen, this is a filly that took all the money on debut, right? She was a big favorite, and she caught a sloppy track and ran that well. Most trainers, but a few notable exceptions, do not work their horses unless the track is fast. So that was an unknown. Will she handle the sloppy track? Obviously, she had tipped her hand. She had ability on dry tracks in the morning.
All right, we're going to take a look at that Churchill race, I think, in just a moment. But, over a sloppy track, when you do take a look at it, Meg, sloppy versus a good track. It's rated as a good track at Oaklawn Park. How can you gauge that difference? And a horse that handles a sloppy track like that, do you just think that they're going to handle the good track no problem?
I do, because of the fact that she had worked so well on dry tracks. And Oaklawn, when the track is wet, they kind of keep it pretty tight.
Okay.
And they run a little bit over the top of the ground. It's interesting. A horse can handle slop at one track and not handle slop at another track, too. They're very distinct, different surfaces. Even in New York, Saratoga slop's different than Belmont slop.
When you do have a horse that is 1-for-1 though in the career, a little bit vulnerable. I mean, from a betting standpoint, 4-5. Horse did win the debut over a sloppy track, but that's a short number here.
That's a very short price. And now she's facing horses that have done something she's been able to do as well, win. You know, she ran against a bunch of horses that had no road map to the winner's circle yet. All of these have found their way to the winner's circle at least once, right?
And there is a horse that is the second choice currently right now at 5-2, and that is going to be Saratoga Secret. And if you name a horse Saratoga Secret, Hall of Fame trainer D. Wayne Lucas, you take a look at the 7. This is her run at the Skyline. I mean, you got to run at Saratoga if you're named Saratoga Secret.
Of course. And listen, I thought she ran well here. Obviously, she was second in a Grade 3 stake in the Schuylerville. She broke her maiden going 5.5 at Ellis Park. Looking at her from a physical perspective, she really gives you the impression that she's going to be better being by Arrogate 2 as they go further. I think she's a major contender here, but I think this is a starting point for her for this winter season at Oaklawn.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. She comes off of that stakes effort last time. Now she comes into this spot. You know, maybe just trying to get her that win, get her that confidence. I mean, are you a big believer in that they've got to get that confidence and kind of go through those conditions?
I am. You know, they're athletes. They're equine athletes. And I've seen horses after races when they're not competitive, they don't run well. They'll be mad. They'll be in the back of the stall. They won't eat. You know, they actually understand, and also the atmosphere around them. And horse wins. It's like I talk about Mike Tyson. Everybody knew he was going to be champion of the world when he was 16. He still fought less accomplished rivals to build up his physical, prowess, his mental confidence. He probably fought 20 fights before he started fighting guys that were going to test him a bit.
And then we're going to talk to Paul, and we're going to talk to JK in a little bit, but do you have to see it in this start? I mean, second off the layoff, do you really need to see that improvement that you're expecting at that 5-2 number?
I don't. I actually think I'd just like to see a good effort from her, because I do think that her big goals for this winter are going to be as she stretches out in distance. Again, I think this is just a stepping off point for her.
Yeah, for 2-year-olds here, they continue to improve. And a lot of these have had these 4 or 5 starts, so they're getting pretty acclimated and starting to learn the game quite a bit. And this is one thing that I did want to ask you. I knew I was going to be sitting up here with you. We talked about War Campaign, kind of an older horse, and just horses that are improving. Is it easier to ride one of the other 2-year-olds versus the older horses? I mean, do the older horses, do they have it figured out, and the 2-year-olds are kind of all over the place?
It's much easier to ride older horses, because even if a horse is difficult, you know what his difficulties are. There's not as much unexpected with an older horse. If they have a habit, you're aware of that habit by then. With a young horse, you're not quite sure what they may or may not do yet. They can be a bit more unpredictable.
And sometimes it's the first time that you are getting on their back, right? We're going to talk to JK and find out who he likes as the horses are coming on the track for today's 8th race. JK, what's going on? First time bringing you in here this afternoon. We got race 8 coming up, and Coastal Invasion at a short number.
Yeah, look, I appreciate that. Thanks, Chris. How are you? I want to beat Coastal Invasion badly here. When I first looked at the past performances, loose last time, first-time starter, short price. Oh, who can I beat him with? And I realized that there's no one to beat him with. So if you can't beat him, join him. I had to land on the 4 Coastal Invasion. I just couldn't find anyone else.
All right, JK likes the 4 Coastal Invasion at 3-5. We've got a post parade coming up here in just a moment. Maybe a little bit vulnerable from a wagering standpoint, but how impressive was that effort? I know we didn't get a chance to check out that replay, but how impressed were you by that first effort, that debut effort?
I like the tenacity she showed, because she was tested firmly into the stretch. She had a clear lead. A horse got to her, got head and head with her, and then she dropped her head and kind of re-engaged and went on again at the finish. And a horse can train brilliantly in the morning. That's an unknown. You don't know what they're going to do when they get into a fight.
I know Paul's down there trackside. He's getting a good look at these 2-year-olds as they are coming onto the track. It is part of the late pick 3. It's also the last 2 legs of that cross-country pick 5. So good luck in here. Maybe a lot of singles here to number 4 if they really like Coastal Invasion. We'll find out if we can get – if you get outside of the 4 and the 7, I mean, it's it's bombs away everywhere else.
It really is, but you do have horses that have run in jurisdictions that you may not be sure of how good the fields were they were coming out of, but they've won races.
Let's take a look at the field. Here's the one, Cheeky Gal.
Comes off a big effort on the turf, but broke her maiden first time out at the dirt at Del Mar. She wants to pop up in the air a little bit, right?
Christian Torres there, sired by Maximus Mischief. And there's the 2, Edistrudis. I was practicing this one.
Yes, and making her 6th start, and she ran big in the slop last time. Still going to have to improve to handle the likes of Coastal Invasion.
Ricardo Santana Jr. will be aboard here for trainer Peter Miller on feisty Matoli.
Has flash speed in all of her starts, more recently coming from off the pace on the turf, but she's got to show she can replicate that form on dirt.
Here is that short price favorite we were talking about, 3-5 now, Coastal Invasion.
Yeah, and when I look at second-time starters, too, Chris, I'm always looking to see how they reacted to that first race, and she looks like she settled in nicely. It didn't shake her up too much.
The 5 is Divine Gal, Francisco Ariana.
Came with a big late run and was a big surprise. Went off nearly 30-1, but you like when you see a young horse be able to kick from off the pace and get it done.
Big long shot here, Keith Asmussen will be aboard, Elusive Star.
Yeah, riding for his dad. Keith Asmussen's been impressive. This filly's a fighter. She tries. She drops her head and puts it in. She's by Tappet. She can improve.
There's Saratoga Secret, who we talked about, Ramon Vasquez.
Yeah, listen, this filly tipped her hand early. She had ability. I do believe, though, this is kind of a beginning point for her.
The 8 is Ready for Trouble, Walter de la Cruz.
Yeah, another filly broke her maiden for a maiden claiming tag. It's a bit tougher what she's facing here.
Tortuga Island is the 9.
Yeah, it comes out of FanDuel, but was very impressive last time, drawing off and getting a decent figure.
And Chelsea Bailey, who we're going to visit with later. Extreme Diva is the 10, the outside runner.
Yeah, how about that second start at Canterbury and the number she got? That's the fastest buyer figure anybody's gotten in this field. Can she replicate that?
That's the field of 10 here for today's 8th race, and Paul LaDuca is right there trackside. So let's send it over to Paul and find out who he likes for this upcoming 8th race, show in a couple minutes.
Yeah, we'll start with the favorite here, Chris, at 3-5, Coastal Invasion. Now, I do reside now in Louisville in the off-season, so I was able to go to Churchill Downs, and this horse literally was the talk of the whole backside when this horse ran. And I got a zillion texts on the horse. He was even money that day, Coastal Invasion. And to be honest with you, the horse won on guts. I ended up finding out from actually Brad Cox's son, who's actually a jocks agent, the horse didn't like the racetrack that day and actually won. Now, that worries me a tiny bit. There is a little bit of moisture in this racetrack, but not much. So to hear that from kind of the trainer and the jockey, Flo, saying the horse really didn't like the racetrack and won, because when you really watch, she was struggling to get to the wire. She battled, and like Mick said, she showed tenacity. So, but I think she's 1-2 because the talk of the town's been the way she's trained in the morning. Now, Saratoga Secret, when you win first time out and you run third in a grade 3 at Saratoga, you have obviously some talent. And, obviously she's a filly by Arrogates who should get better as she gets a little bit older. I thought the only other horse in here, the Donnie von Hemmelbarn really doesn't win first time out. This horse exploded from dead last at Churchill Downs. I don't know if you could do the same thing here today against winners, but I just think Coastal Invasion, I'm kind of with JK. I don't want to take 3-5, but the talk of this horse and the way the horse ran last time, I think this horse is going to be really, really tough.
Thanks, Paul. As we take a look at this field, and again, 3-5, you're going to see favoritism go to the 4. But, Richie, you're sitting up here and you're taking a look at it, and you're just saying, I kind of want to change things up a little bit, be a little different in here because too easy to go with the 4.
Yeah, and listen, I have no false illusions. I do believe that the 4 Coastal Invasion is going to be very tough to beat. I'm taking a little bit of a flyer with the 10 Extreme Diva. Now, I know that she was dominant against Minnesota breds, and this is much tougher. But she does have that big buyer figure to go back to in her second start. Now, last time she did not show up at all in the Myrtlewood at Keeneland, but she was bumped at the start. Being outside, even if she doesn't break very sharp, she's not going to get dirt in her face right away, and maybe she gets in a stride and she's going to be forward. And honestly, I've been impressed with Chelsea Bailey. I think she has continually improved as a rider. She's pretty strong. Again, the 4 is going to be tough. I'll take 11-1 and a little bit of a stab with Extreme Diva.
All right, we'll see if that outside runner off of those 2 debut efforts there at Canterbury, then went over to Keeneland. Finished that 8th, but finished behind winners in there. You take a look at Saratoga Secret, another one coming off of that stakes effort and seems to be primed here for this second off the layoff start. Who haven't we talked about? The 5 Divine Gal. I mean, this is a horse that, same thing, 1 for 1. Donnie Von Hemmel, Francisco Arrieta. You talked about that closing kick, and this horse caught some pace early on. Seemed like the track may have been lending to closers a little bit, but did draw away and won pretty impressively at a big price.
A lot of times when you see young horses win on debut, they go gate to wire. Right? They're just more precocious, quicker than their rivals. They don't have to deal with kickback. They don't have to deal with body contact. They don't have to overcome adversity. The one thing you can say about the 5 Divine Gal is she got a lot of experience out of that first start. Didn't break particularly sharp, had to take kickback, had to, work her way around the field and finish. So you've got to like that she showed that ability to take that adversity and overcome it.
And for these riders, too, when they come back after these efforts with the 2-year-olds, I mean, the trainers, they probably want to know, and this may be an assumption on my part, how much is going on with that horse? Like, what did they feel during that race?
Yeah, absolutely. Trainers are like constantly questioning how they felt. What'd you think? What can we do to make this horse better? Because you're still learning about them. Even if a trainer's had a horse in their barn for months, they haven't raced them yet. So once they race, now you're going to learn. And you learn about a horse's heart. I mean, we talk about that word heart with horses. It's their ability to be in behind horses, be in close quarters, and not shy away from it. And some horses never get used to it, and some immediately when they start, they're professional about it.
All right, we're going to find out here what happens in today's 8th race. A couple other horses that are in here coming off of turf efforts. And with the 2-year-olds, you give them a shot on the turf, too. I mean, the 1 and the 3, Feisty Matola, you get Ricardo Santana Jr. Showing a low percentage as far as wins. Christian Torres kind of low percentage, too, just to kick things off. They're both going to heat up, but they both ran pretty big numbers on the turf.
Yeah, on the turf. How's that going to translate here to Oaklawn? And that's always one of the huge handicapping conundrums in this beginning of the Oaklawn Park meeting. So many horses coming from different jurisdictions, and who's going to handle the track? What form is going to hold up and be successful at the Oaklawn Park meeting? Both of these guys kind of got off to slow starts, but it's not a sprint anymore, Oaklawn. It's a marathon.
2 more legs to go here in the cross-country pick 5. This 8th race is involved in that. We're going to find out what happens here in this 8th at Oaklawn Park. Paul likes the 4. JK's on the 4, the big favorites. Richie likes the 10. Matt Dinnerman at Hot Springs with the call.
To round out the field, she's it. We're ready to go. And we're off. All 10 runners broke in a straight line. Edith Strudis, the long shot up close with Coastal Invasion, who's taken the hold up. She's being asked to track the pace here. The 2 inside runners are quickest. Cheeky Gal, Edith Strudis, and even Feisty Matoli's there in the 3 path. Coastal Invasion farther out in a good stocking position. 4 wide, Extreme Diva moving alongside of her, but she's 5 deep on the course trying to cross over, has done so, approaching the forward turn run. Elusive Star is next with Divine Gal. Saratoga Secret down at the rail inside of those 2. She's about 9 lengths behind, a length to Tortuga Island, and Ready for Trouble can see them all as they round the forward turn. Cheeky Gal, the leader, Extreme Diva right up alongside as they hit the quarter pole. They're going at it, and Coastal Invasion, the big favorite, is dropping to the tail of the field. She's gone as they come off the turn. Extreme Diva putting away Cheeky Gal at the 3/16 and kicking on. Cheeky Gal behind in second now. Divine Gal's coming, and so is Saratoga Secret. Here comes Divine Gal on the extreme outside, flying late, and Divine Gal along with Edith Strudis at a big number. Edith Strudis and Divine Gal, these 2 head-and-head. Divine Gal sees it out, and she's 2 for 2 for Donnie K. Von Hemmel. Edith Strudis with a huge effort second, and then came Saratoga Secret and Ready for Trouble.
Well, it was a horse to go 2 for 2 in her career, but maybe not the one that everybody thought. Coastal Invasion just didn't show up here, maybe didn't like the track or whatnot, but there's the 5. Divine Gal, same kind of style.
Off the pace, and when you see a young horse able to do that, and people maybe underestimate kickback, especially with young horses. Now, a lot of trainers will school their horses in behind horses in the morning, but it's not the same as the afternoon. It comes back harder, more fiercely. Also in the morning, you're working with somebody. in the afternoons, you're working against everybody, and everybody's working against you. This was a nice effort. I mean, she did it again, off the pace, and it bodes well for this filly going forward because a lot of these races our horses get compromised by speed. I thought we might pull it off for a second, Chris, with the 10 Extreme Diva. She got a little bit late, but at least she gave me a little bit of a run for my money.
You were noticing exactly that she was getting late there in the late stages, but it is Divine Gal to go 2 for 2 in her career. She picks up the victory, and Estrudis at a big number ends up running second. We'll be back with more America's Day at the Races.
The Run Happies are running, the Run Happies are selling, the Run Happies are winning. Eclipse champion Run Happy is showing a new dimension with winners on turf, dirt, and all weather. A record-breaking sprint champion, Run Happy is also showing winners at all distances.
The son of Run Happy, Nutella Fella, has won the hopeful.
One happy mama wins the Iowa sorority. Run Happy, price for value, and standing strong at Claiborne Farm.
Now more than ever, it's time to get with the program. When shopping for your next race prospect, consider that New York breds start with an advantage. Our New York breds run for serious green. At Saratoga Race Meet, New York bred maidens run for up to $88,000. New York bred allowance horses run for up to $100,000. And New York bred owners can collect awards of up to $20,000 per horse per race. So get back with the program. Seriously.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Races. And there you see the number 5 Divine Gal, a 2-year-old filly, Kentucky bred by Tapiture, gets the job done and pays a number again. Maybe not as much as her debut, but now 2 for 2 in her career. And you know her running style, she's going to be that late closing sprinter, it seems.
Yeah, and maybe she'll start garnering more respect because she obviously has a nose for the wire, right? And she's settled again, got out in the clear, and came with that run. Interesting, like you see the kickback, and mostly got in her chest and her neck, not as much in her face. And good riders learn how to put horses in a position where the kickback is getting the horse more in their chest than directly into their face.
All right, we'll find out what happens and where Divine Gal goes next. Some big payouts there, some long shots underneath. So you had some big trifectas, and that was part of the cross-country pick 5. Of course, now you catch a $27 winner. If you're alive in that cross-country pick 5, I think you are doing quite well here as you go into that last and final leg, which is going to be the 9th race at Oaklawn Park. You see $21 winner, $11 winner, $27. You got some nice separation, so it should be a nice one.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm always amazed and impressed with people handicapping that can kind of sift through it and find these golden nuggets.
We got the 9th race coming up at Oaklawn Park. Nice purse once again, 1 mile and 16th. It's an allowance race, and we're going to see a nice full field there. Looks like 12 runners. Julien Leparoux is currently on your favorite. Chelsea Bailey is riding a big long shot. She was just almost home there on your top choice of Extreme Diva in the last. We're going to find out more about the story of jockey Chelsea Bailey when we come back on more America's Day at the Races.
Spun to Run. His brilliant speed figures were among the fastest of any 3-year-old at a mile or more, and he hails from the legendary Danzig sire line. Now, this multiple graded stakes winner, millionaire, and Breeders' Cup champion is passing his remarkable talent along to his progeny.
95, 200, 200 down, 2, in the back. Patrick, 200,000. Thank you.
Spun to Run, standing at Gainesway.
The sun shines bright on Caraconte. His first crops of racing age are showing brilliance on the racetrack with a high percentage of stakes winners. His versatility is evidenced by winners on all surfaces across the globe.
Spandarella could not have been more impressive.
The sun shines bright on this value sire.
Here down 25, here down 25, here down. Thank you. Right here, 525,000.
Caraconte, standing at Gainesway.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
Game Winner first got started and ran a very, very impressive maiden race to Del Mar. Came back in the Del Mar Futurity and again won very impressively at 7 furlongs, and then just continued that unbelievable 2-year-old year. Went on to win the American Pharoah Stakes at Santa Anita and then the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and then was obviously crowned 2-year-old champion. Got the precocity to do that, plus the stamina and everything that his whole family indicates.
I'm a very, very competitive person.
It is richness in front.
Real nice, patient, confident ride from Chelsea Bailey.
Chelsea? Yeah. Did you bet on me? Yes. They're both almost along the same parallel, that you are an athlete, you have weight that's involved, you have to have upper body strength. I have a really good balance that I've taken that I've used from there. You have to have, split-second decision action time. It's the same thing. When that bell rings, anything could happen in the fight, and when that gate opens, anything can happen in the race. I've had 3 professional fights. I had 1 fight for the Ultimate Fighter because it was for a reality TV show.
Chelsea trains with UFC champion Miesha Tate.
You got this, girl.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's fight.
I'm not gonna lie, it feels really good to punch somebody in the face. Especially if, they've been talking bad about you. You train so hard, and when you can go out there and you can just really connect, it's a pretty good feeling. It's kind of a weird twist of fate and destiny that I was able to actually meet my husband and was able to get me involved with the horse racing. You have to be able to know how to go out there and ride the horse and give the horse the best ride that you can and do everything you can to try to win the race.
This is Charlie. This is Charlie Can Do. He's so laid back. He's a really nice horse to be around, and he's super kind.
Charlie Can Do did. Charlie Can Do won by 8.
Chelsea Bailey able to do just that. Tom Swearingen Racing Stable, the winning owner, winning trainer.
Liked everything about her, the way she handled the horses, her dedication was extreme. And so from that point on, I thought we would be able to use her, let her ride some horses. We were really happy with what she did, and everybody likes her, and her work ethic is second to none. She's a very, very dedicated person.
The toughest part is keeping the momentum going, not getting hurt, doing good. It's like when you're hot, you're hot. When you're down, you're down. I love boxing. I love to hit the bag. I like combinations, but my background is wrestling. So I feel really comfortable on the ground. My ground game is pretty sick.
Don't get out with your hips out in front of the shoulders, Steve Smith. You're way too forward. Pressure behind the shoulders. Tighten it up. Change sides, create angles.
It's really cool to see that there are more girls that are getting interested in it and want to get involved, and I feel really special that I'm able to help out and kind of lend my experience and give them tips and give them my 2 cents and kind of help out with them. Like wrap the shoulder around there to use your head. It's not just the girls, it's also the guys and everything. You know, I'm a good body to help practice with, and I can help find faults and things that they're doing wrong, and I can also work with them because I'm more their size. It's really awesome. I'm like glad to be a part of the community in that factor, and not just at the racetrack, but also helping out with the kids at the school and stuff and volunteering. I really enjoy it.
And you got a chance to learn a little bit more about jockey Chelsea Bailey, and we were just talking about it, Meg. I mean, pound for pound jockeys, I think even outside of the industry, people recognize that jockeys are such tremendous athletes, but this is really a clear example of somebody that has a different trade, but kind of the same mechanics and same kind of focus, I guess you would say.
There's a lot of parallels to you know, mixed martial artist or a boxer, a wrestler, and a jockey. Obviously, having to make the demands of weight, so you learn early on how to eat properly. Look at food as fuel. You don't eat for enjoyment. You're not going to go hang out at the Dairy Queen with your buddies. You know, everything you put in your body has to have a purpose, right? So that just having that understanding early on, and the dedication that it takes, the work ethic that it takes, and obviously that was talked about in the piece, the work ethic that she has. And there's a danger factor that you have to be able to reason in your head. You know, courage is not the absence of fear. It's being able to do what needs to be done despite that fear, right? And not allowing it to overwhelm you. Obviously going into a situation where you know you're going to get hit as a fighter, and be able to go ahead and do your job anyway, much like a rider. You know that you're going to be in dangerous situations at times, but you can't let that fear rule you.
And how difficult is it for her to be in the MMA world and then say, I'm going to hop on a horse and I'm going to become a jockey?
Well, I think it's amazing, you know, the way she was talking about it and how she incorporated the balance and the angles of being a fighter and how she used that to her benefit on horseback as well. I mean, obviously just having that upper body strength. Your legs are your foundation, but you need that upper body strength as well. And I love anytime an athlete is able to think about outside themselves and give back and help the community, help kids. To me, that is more important than even how good a rider or fighter they may be, how good a person they are.
Yeah, she almost helped you get to the winner's circle, too, in that last race. Chelsea Bailey, we'll see what she does. She's on a big long shot coming up in this 9th race, coming up in a mile and 16th. We're going to talk about that. That's the last leg in the cross-country pick 5, so we'll see what happens there. That would lead to a huge payout in that pick 5, so we'll see what happens when we come back with more on America's Day at the Races from Oakland Park.
At the Rail Country Grammar, resilient, fighting back, retaking the lead, and it's Country Grammar to win the Hollywood Gold Cup.
Country Grammar getting the upper hand, draws alongside, and Country Grammar with his dates with destiny in front a length and a half. Country Grammar won the Dubai World Cup.
At Keeneland, a horse will always be measured in hands. Hands that see, that sense, that speak. Hands that hold our sport to a higher standard. Not for our sake, but for theirs. For the love of the horse, for generations to come.
Today's races are brought to you by Claiborne Farm. Claiborne Farm, 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. You know, Maggie was talking about the music. Now I'm hearing the music. It's a very festive holiday scene here. Let's talk about race number 9, the payout leg in this cross-country pick 5 and 7 to 5. You were just talking to me about it, Mig. I mean, this is a short price on a horse that's got that outside draw.
Tough draw. A mile and a 16th at Oaklawn Park. You've got to figure out, how you're going to save some ground into that first turn. I'm a big believer in saving ground. And if you lose a lot of ground on the first turn, you've got to make sure you save as much ground on the second turn. Conversely, if you can save that ground on the first turn and you're on a closer and you need to lose some ground, at least you saved ground on one turn. It's very difficult to be wide on 2 turns unless you're much the best and get it done.
All right, 1 lifetime victory, 2 seconds, 3/3, and a very short price right now at 3-2. We're going to come back, take a quick little break, and come right back and talk even more about this 9th race, the payout leg, in that cross-country pick 5.
Jackie's Warrior quickly in front here by 2 lengths. Here comes Jackie's Warrior up the inside to take over the lead from Life is Good. Jackie's Warrior remains undefeated here at Saratoga, and he wins an unprecedented Grade 1 stakes at the Spa for the 3rd straight season.
For the last few years, Thoroughbred Racing has been taking vital steps to make our sport safer. These include the use of independent veterinarians who check every horse before every race, strict anti-doping and medication controls with severe punishments for violators, uniform safety standards for every track, and a single national authority empowered to create reforms and enforce new standards across the board. With each important measure, more data is gathered, accountability is demanded, and while we've made progress, we are committed to doing more, so that at every track, in every race, safety takes the lead. Visit ntra.com/safety for more.
Charlatan is back, and he turns it on with 1/8 of a mile to go. Express Train moves into second. Nashville dropping out of it, and then Collusion Illusion. What a spectacular return for Charlatan, who will romp in the run-happy Malibu Stakes by 4.5 emphatic lengths. Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new king.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Races. Chris Griffin here, joined by Richard Migliore. We got Paul LaDuca on site, Jonathan Kinchin joining us as well, and we've got a post-parade coming up as it's race number 9 at Oaklawn Park. We head to Hot Springs, Arkansas one more time. Track still labeled as good. There is Chelsea Bailey, who we just talked about on Namesake.
Yeah, a horse that's going to have to improve from any race we've seen from this horse previously, but does have 2 wins at Oaklawn and a very good inside post. So she's going to get to save Chelsea Bailey, that is, save ground into that turn on Namesake.
The number 2 at 5-1. Here's Christian Torres aboard OP Firecracker.
Yeah, big effort by this horse last time in an off the turf for going 1.25 miles and well drawn towards the inside.
Winamac Avenue is kind of floating up a little bit here, right? 7-1 off of that 5-2 morning line.
Yeah, the horse, big effort last time, and Jimmy DeVito, trainers, over 1,200 wins. He's been winning races as long as I can remember.
Big number, Harleasy, the 4.
Going to have to find a race we just haven't seen yet from this horse.
The 5 is JJ's Joker.
Yeah, a horse that actually can lay up fairly close. And we talk about styles. Ramsey Zimmerman's a guy who likes to use horse's speed.
The horse coming off the turf, right tone. It's going to be Manrique aboard here on the 6th.
Yeah, but sandwiched in between those 2 turf efforts was a nice win on the dirt at Remington Park.
There's Keith Asmussen for Steve Asmussen, Tejas.
Been so impressed with Keith. He's ridden so well, and he never had the benefit of being apprentice. He always rode at level weights with all the other riders.
Manny Esquivel will be aboard the number 8 at 8-1. Can't hush this.
A rider that's been very impressive. This horse takes the blinkers off, so maybe they're looking for this horse to settle just a bit more.
Busy Legs is the 9, Walter De La Cruz.
Certainly a part of the pace here. Should be very forward.
Dinner at Crumpy's. Luis Quinones is going to be aboard 44-1. Big long shot there on the board.
I'm not familiar with Crumpy's, but if they named a horse after the place, it must be decent.
It's got to be decent, right? If you hit that 44-1 shot, dinner at Crumpy's indeed. The number 11 is Elusive Target. It's going to be first off the claim here for the New Connections.
Yeah, last time seen on dirt, this horse sported a victory and then steady diet of turf races since.
And the price kind of keeps holding here. It's Julien Leparoux aboard 10 days later, 8-5.
Listen, this horse comes off a big figured race. I just wonder what kind of trip this horse is going to work out from the outside. I think Julien Leparoux has been riding extremely well. Chris, it happens to all riders where sometimes your confidence level isn't high. And recently, it just seems like he's gotten in a good groove. His skill set didn't deteriorate, but sometimes the belief in your skill set deteriorates. And I think just him winning with consistency now, I'm seeing a much more confident rider.
Paul LaDuca is their trackside in Hot Springs. You like the favorite in the last one there. It didn't quite pan out in race number 8, but race 9, are we going back to the favorite, Paul, or do we have a little bit of a price here in today's ninth?
I like a little bit of a price in here, which I didn't think I was going to get this kind of price on the 8 horse in here. You know, when you look at this race, it's kind of confusing because the 2 and 3 just ran career numbers in their last start. And so which one is going to digress, which one is going to stay even or go forward off that last race? They're both chilly on the board, and Can't Hush This, confusing horse, right? Because when you look at his PPs, you think, okay, is he a one-turn horse? Because his 2-turn races are not good. But then you go back down, he does have a 2-turn race where he laid off at Churchill Downs. His races here at Oaklawn have not been good. Emmanuel Esquivel is a great finishing rider, so I'm kind of with Mick. He might lay off. I think he might be the fastest horse in this field, but Winamac Avenue, the 3, Ramon Vasquez could be a little bit more aggressive, and Emmanuel might sit. This could sit 2-3-8, somewhere in that aspect. The 12's taking a ton of money 10 days later, and rightfully so. This horse did not run with Lasix so the last 3 starts, and obviously this horse has improved on Lasix. Julien Leparoux gets aboard. You don't really love the 12 post in here, and I'm going to go with Can't Hush This. And JK, I know you can't hush this. You like yourself some MC Hammer, but you like yourself the 3 here too as well, I heard.
Nah, look, Paul, I think next weekend or the weekend after that, you should get some MC Hammer pants to wear at Oaklawn. Something tells me that those folks in Hot Springs wouldn't know what hit them if you came in there with some MC Hammer pants, just with a little suit jacket on afterwards. You don't have to. I'm just saying you should. I'm going to pick the 3. Winamac Avenue. And I was going to pick the 12 until I saw the price. It's entirely too short for what I think that horse is. Winamac Avenue is a 3-year-old who I think could be improving a little bit. Right? If you look at the last race, it's definitely a race that's good enough for this horse to win. But you have to ask yourself, well, where did that performance come from? Well, this horse hadn't run since since August, so had a little time to kind of grow up a little bit, kind of get some issues worked out, maybe work on some things in the morning, and then shows up and runs that big race in October. And I think that this is a horse that you can trust a little bit to move forward off of that effort. And if you look at that last race, there's been 4 horses that have come back and run, that have run, 2 of them ran second, 2 of them ran third in their subsequent starts. So it makes me believe that race that we saw was actually a good race. And that's what a lot of times you have to do. You can look, and I'm a big speed figure guy, and I trust speed figures a lot. But I think there's a lot that goes into it. And one of the things that you can use as kind of a test to understand if a number was real or not, to see what horses did out of those races behind this horse, Winamac Avenue. And I trust the number a little bit. I think that Winamac Avenue, at least for the price at 6-1, is a deserved horse that you can play in here. Not saying the 12 won't win. I just think it's too short of a price.
Thanks, JK. Taking a look at the field here for today's 9th race, and you like Winamac Avenue as well, and you were just watching that replay, and you talked about his ears being perked up and just really kind of staying to his task.
This horse kept on throwing his ears up, and only when Tyler Gaffalione kept him to his task, would he bear down more? He was almost running a little bit with the emergency breakout and stops and starts, and he won this impressively. It gave you the impression that if a horse came to him, he was going to have a big response to it. So I think he actually won with something left, even though he was hard-ridden in the race.
Does it make you question a little bit, though? 5-1 currently on the board, 5-2 on the morning line. You know, maybe as far as how you take a look at the odds, but J.K. likes the horse a lot. You like the horse a lot and really liked his last effort. Are we just kind of getting that price that we want to see? But this seems like it may be more of a testament to the 12 taking a ton of action right now. 8-5 currently still holding that favoritism. But the 3, I mean, if you like the horse at 5-2, you got to love the horse at 5-1.
Exactly. I guess there's two schools of thought, right? You know, horse taking money, okay, you feel like other people are on board with your opinion. Horse not taking money, oh, he's a little cold on the board, and you start questioning yourself. I question it less at Oaklawn Park, particularly early in this meet. Historically, we've seen horses win at prices. It has the form kind of has to shake out, and before you start seeing consistency. And I think off of that effort, 5-1 is generous on this horse.
All right, we're going to find out what happens here. Good luck if you're alive in that cross-country pick 5. This is the payout leg here. This 9th race, they're going to go 1 mile and a 16th. Big favorite towards the outside with that outside draw. Julien Leparoux will be aboard 10 days later, teaming up with Ken McPeak. We'll see what happens here because it's stop Dinnerman time. Matt Dinnerman set for today's night.
JJ's Joker. 2 more runners to round out the field. Right Tone coming up, post 6. Into the outside 10 days later. We're ready to go. And they're off. Busy Legs stumbled at the break. Namesake also off slowly. JJ's Joker is up on the pace and prominent. Winamac Avenue takes the 2nd spot while on a hold, and JJ's Joker clears off into the turn, leads the way from Winamac Avenue 2nd, along with Can't Hush This, who's racing outside of him. Harleasy between horses in the yellow jacket, being joined by Dinner at Crumpy's, who's 3 deep. OP Firecrackers down on the rail, and then Elusive Target. He's in the pink cap, running 5 lengths off the lead in midfield onto the backstretch. Another length to Tejas. Busy Legs alongside of him. Namesake towards the back with Right Tone. And 10 days later, the 9-5 favorite will have to pass 11 runners and make up about 10 lengths in the final 5 furlongs. They head down the backstretch. JJ's Joker, Ramsey Zimmerman in control, 3/4 of a length. Don't Hush This, pressing on the outside 2nd. Winamac Avenue in a pocket 3rd to the inside. Then comes Dinner at Crumpy's. He's being swarmed by a number of runners there. Elusive Target's one of them. OP Firecracker stays on the fence with Harleasy. Busy Legs in the 3 path. Tejas being asked for more. He's racing alone, about 7 from the top. 3 clear of 10 days later. He's out of last, making his move and passing runners quickly, but still has 8 lengths to make up. 10 days later on the move on the outside as they reach the top of the stretch. JJ's Joker and Don't Hush This. They've been 1-2 throughout, and they swing into the stretch together. Winamac Avenue's 3rd. 10 days later, 5th, passed by OP Firecracker. Furlong to go. It's Don't Hush This. Winamac Avenue on the outside is charging quickly under Ramon Vasquez, and Winamac Avenue soars to the front. Winamac Avenue in the double down stable colors wins it. Don't Hush This was 2nd. OP Firecracker 3rd. JJ's Joker 4th. And then Elusive Target 10 days later ran 6th as the favorite.
Well, there you go. Winamac Avenue gets the job done. 9-2, I think, were the off odds there that I saw, and you got the right trip in behind a slow pace. And again, if you like the horse at 5-2, you love the horse at 9-2, you end up cashing, get a double-digit winner.
He just worked out a really sweet trip, right? Saved the ground right in behind that tepid pace. And jockeys have tells. Ramon Vasquez, about the 3/8 pole, reached up, and he took about 5 strides to just languishly pull his goggles down. And that's always, to me, a tell. The guy's got a lot of horse. He's just trying to kill time till he could find some room. He got out in the clear. And how about the America's Day at the Races exactly? I think Paul came up with the hard part here with the 8. Can't Hush This, but we got the exacta.
Yeah, we can't leave Paul out there completing that exacta. Should be a nice exacta. Looked like 9-2 over 7-1. So there you go. 3 and the 8. plenty going on here with all that great racing action. So we get the exacta, you get the payout leg in that cross-country pick 5. We'll find out what that payout ended up being, but we got to do it over somewhere else because we're leaving FS1. Richard Migliori, Chris Griffin, JK, Paul LaDuca. We're jumping right over. We're not leaving yet. We got one more at Oaklawn. We're going to be headed over to FS2. Thanks for joining us here on FS1 for America's Day at the Races. And gotta have the tree. Gotta have the tree of Rockefellers. We'll see you over on FS2 in just a second. Welcome to America's Day at the Races. It's sponsored by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. And welcome to our FS2 audience. Chris Griffin joined by Richard Migliori as we are sitting here getting ready for what we just saw, Oaklawn Park's 9th race, and we saw a nice exacta from the team up here at the desk and also on site at Hot Springs, Arkansas. We're going to take a look at that stretch run right now. We talk about Winnemac Avenue, and Winnemac Avenue gets the job done, maybe not quite the same way we saw in the last start, but still gets the job done at a nice price.
Yeah, sit that pocket trip, save all that ground, eased out. It feels like, and I was in the paddock earlier, so I didn't get to watch all the Oaklawn action. Horses on the outside making that lighter rally in the clear. Seem we're having a little bit more of the best of it, if you will. And this horse worked out an absolutely perfect trip and a nice ride from Ramon Vasquez and Jimmy DeVito. Now 12,222 career victories.
Wow, that's a lot of wins. Paul LaDuca is their trackside. He liked that runner in the blue cap there. Can't hush this. Completed that exacta, and that exacta came back well over $50. So it's a nice return there. That America's Day at the Races exacta. But there is your winner, Winnemac Avenue. And it's nice to see a horse that, at the shorter odds floats up. You get that 92 price. Can't beat that.
No, that was great. But again, I think Paul did the heavy lifting around that exacta with a 7-1 shot underneath. And your favorite was just an absolute no-show. 10 days later, just really didn't show any interest whatsoever.
That was the payout leg in the cross-country pick 5, and you caught another nice winner, 1160 on your winner in that cross-country pick 5 in the 9th race. And we've got Paul LaDuca, I think, with that winning trainer that you were just talking about, well over 12,000 wins. Let's throw it to Paul LaDuca and see who he's got.
Pleasure to be with winning trainer here, Jimmy DeVito, the trainer of Winnemac Avenue, excuse me, Jimmy. And we were just talking, tell everybody how long you were in Chicago, Illinois, and before that in California.
50 years in Chicago. California, the first 14 years of my life.
So 64 years of knowing how to train horses. So you're pretty good.
My dad trained too. He had about 40 years too. So.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know how good of a trainer you are. And Winnemac Avenue, what's turned the corner on this horse? The last 2 races have been monstrous. To go to the lead last time, and Ramon to get this horse to settle.
Right. Well, he's a long striding horse. It took him a little while to get himself going and starting to rate. He rates nice now, and he did a great job. He got him out of there good. He's kind of got stuck on the inside a little bit. I was a little worried on the backside. He got him outside. He's a big, long striding horse, and got running. That was the end of it.
The first thing we said to each other, we were a little surprised at the price.
Oh, big price. Big price. I thought he should have been favored.
I thought he should have been favored too. Congratulations to Winnemac Avenue. And another good ride by Ramon Vasquez and Jimmy DeVito. 64 years of knowing how to train a racehorse, Mig. Yeah, you're right. He knows what he's doing.
Thanks, Paul. Congratulations to Jimmy DeVito there getting the victory. And a horse that was favored in the last 2 starts, and we saw a different style. And Jimmy DeVito was even talking about it. He said a little concerned in the stretch, but then the horse just got the job done.
Yeah, and he does that. He just what he talked about, that big, long stride, and his head drops down. And he really found his rhythm once he got out to the clear. And again, I feel like horses rallying on the outside today at Oaklawn Park are having a little bit of the best of it. And I misspoke. All respect to Jimmy DeVito, I know is a tremendous horseman. 1,222 career victories.
There you go.
Got way ahead ahead of myself. Been a long day.
I know what you were thinking about, though. You heard that 12,000. That's close to what the number was in that cross-country pick 5 payout. I'm here at $13,000. $13,872.50. Look at that. You had the first 3 races here at Aqueduct. You had that $21 winner to kick things off. A favorite in the sequence. Maybe if you like Maker's Candy a lot, you singled there, and you caught a few of those nice mid-range prices. Divine Gal, a horse that we made a case for. You get back almost $14,000.
And that's a pretty nice day at the races, isn't it?
That could pay for a few flights down to Hot Springs for that trip that you're going to be taking. But Allowance Optional Claimer is going to close things out in the 10th and final at Oaklawn Park, as they've got one more to go. Nice purse once again. And you do take a look at a full field once again of 12. So we're going to look at that 10th race in just a moment, because we've got that 2-turn race. But let's go to break first before we come back and talk about that 10th and final race here with the Meg. Chris Griffin here on the desk, and we're going to be back with plenty more. Let's see if we hit another exacta on America's Day at the Races.
Warfront. This son of Danzig ranks among the world's elite sires. Ranked #1 by percentage of stakes winners, graded stakes winners, and Grade 1 winners. No stallion has a better strike rate. Warfront is the sire of over 100 lifetime stakes winners, including some of the sport's most talented runners both at home and abroad.
Verstappen! War Bomber in front. War Bomber's won the King Edward.
Seal Team takes the lead. Seal Team!
Warfront, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Welcome to the Adelphi Racing Club experience. Take ownership of stakes-winning thoroughbreds like Funny How, racing at the highest level circuits.
Funny How is in front. It's Funny How who's up by 3 lengths, approaching the 16th pole. It's all Funny How. Funny How, Katie Davis more than amused. Funny How wins the Broadway.
Contact us online to get a taste of the Adelphi difference, and let's win races together.
Celebrating its 40th anniversary in 2023, the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation has long been saving former racehorses from possible neglect, abuse, or slaughter. The TRF herd of nearly 450 horses who are not able to go on to second careers as sport horses are given lifelong sanctuary at one of the many facilities sponsored by the TRF across the country. But the TRF isn't only helping equines have a second chance at life. They are helping incarcerated individuals as well. The innovative and pioneering Second Chances program allows incarcerated men and women the opportunity to build life skills while participating in a vocational program as they provide supervised care to retired racehorses.
I talk to them, I speak to them about things that I don't speak to people about in there. I can feel like they actually relate to me. And the same second chance that they're given, I feel like I'm getting.
I didn't know it was going to be such an emotional thing, and you really do
bond with the animals, and they look for you to be there for them.
It's more love out here. It's more peace, tranquility, solace, anything you want to call it, the epitome of peace to me.
There are currently 8 TRF Second Chances programs at prisons in 6 different states. Graduates of the program receive certification based upon their level of expertise and have gone on to careers as farriers, vet assistants, and caretakers. The Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, helping thoroughbreds who help people.
And that is the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. For more information, don't forget you can visit www.trfinc.org. Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, and Richie, you know, we talked about it, just so important to the industry and what we do, but this is the one where I stay out of the way because you've had kind of hands-on, you've really visited with these folks, and you know a lot about this organization and what it means to have these horses in their next career after they're off the racetrack.
And TRF does, you know, spectacular work, you know, spearheaded mostly by Kim Weir, but the program through the prison systems and the skills it teaches, you know, the inmates to deal with horses. And, you know, a thoroughbred, you have to respect them. You can't just push them around. And they really teach them how to get along and a certain level of confidence that comes with it. And, you know, having visited Wallkill several times, been to the one in South Carolina, right outside of Aiken, you can see the impact and the positive influence it's had on these men and women. And, you know, like Winston Churchill said, right, something about the outside of a horse, it's good for the inside of a person.
Yeah, I didn't grow up around horses, but I've never seen anybody go to a horse or a racehorse or any kind of horse for that matter and not be overcome with this kind of feeling of love and affection. It's just like once you get next to them, you can really, some of them will kind of.
But there's a different energy level.
Yeah.
And I really feel like one of the things that we have to do as a whole in our industry is get people close to the horses themselves, the animal themselves. You see in Saratoga when the kids get to pet on the lead horses and they have that proximity with the animal itself. It's not just what's on paper, but that's what makes the game so brilliant. You can kind of handicap it and figure it out, but then there's this incredibly amazing animal behind all that and the energy level. And I really think that sometimes we miss the boat a little bit by not getting people as close to the horses as possible.
Yeah, and I've been close to those horses. That's why I kind of had that feeling, because a couple of them have bit me. They see me coming a mile away. They're like, look at this smiley guy coming in here. He's going to think that he's going to hang out with me, and they'll nip you a little bit.
They'll let you know if they don't want you in their dance space.
Wonderful organization for the TRF, the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, of course. We'll keep talking about that in this great sport of horse racing. Coming up, it's the finale from Oaklawn Park. We got more to come. Some more great music and some more great racing on America's Day at the Races.
War Dancer, New York's leading turf sire again in 2023 with standouts like Barrage at Saratoga.
Here's Barrage with a final surge. Barrage got him.
War Saichi dominant on the dirt at Finger Lakes.
War Saichi has scampered well clear. War Saichi all the way with the top spot.
And Danzig Queen on the tap of the surface at Woodbine.
And Danzig Queen will come away and win by a length.
Consistently producing winners on dirt, turf, and synthetic. War Dancer, proud to stand in New York.
Now more than ever, it's time to get with the program. When shopping for your next race prospect, consider that New York Reds start with an advantage. Our New York Reds run for serious green. At Saratoga Race Meet, New York bred maidens run for up to $88,000. New York bred allowance horses run for up to $100,000. And New York bred owners can collect awards of up to $20,000 per horse per race. So get back with the program. Seriously.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day.
With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
And America's Day at the Races is brought to you in part by Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Visit NairaBets.com or download the Naira Bets app to get started. Don't forget about the deposit match. You can hit that deposit match bonus. Match 200 is that promo code. We're getting set for the 10th and final at Oaklawn Park, Hot Springs, Arkansas. Looks like a nice day there in Hot Springs. Field of 12 getting set to go in this 10th and final, and you talked about the Arkansas breds. I mean, you start talking about these state breds. These are tough races, and you can, you get a 9-5 favorite, usually maybe play against.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, historically covering races, especially, for allowance and maiden races with the Arkansas breds. We've seen chaos at times.
We'll see if we find that chaos. There's the one, Luis Quinones aboard Amazing Wisdom.
Well posted, getting back to restricted company in Arkansas breds, and I like post 1 there.
The 2 is Top Road Rules.
Yeah, it's been running on the turf more recently, but has hit the board several times on a faster track.
Kylie Jordan's going to be aboard a big long shot here, Courtney Fay.
Yeah, a horse that is more of a deep closing type. Let's see, she's going to have to find a little bit more in the tank.
Christian Torres will be on Choctaw Zip. That's the 4.
Stretching out to the mile, and this horse is out coming off of a long layoff and has had success sprinting. How is that going to translate here?
Black Apple is taking a little bit of action. Ricardo Santuna Jr. aboard on the 5.
Short leaf stable horse, John Ed Anthony, been a great supporter of Oaklawn Park for many years.
There's the 6, Classy Socks.
Classy Socks coming in from Churchill Downs. Hasn't been seen since September, but has a win at Oaklawn Park.
Rocco Bowen on the 7 of Fleet Sky.
Yeah, Fleet Sky been running more recently at Louisiana Downs, but almost a year layoff. It's a tough task.
All right, there's Jim Ned, the number 9, and Jose Benita.
Yeah, been running at Hawthorne more recently. Did win here with slow figures last year.
Here is the horse taking the action here, and that's Where's Randy, Julian Leperoux, 8-5.
Well, here's a horse that kind of had that prep race, right? Finished the campaign last year at Oaklawn, had the summer off, had the race under her belt, now stretches back out.
You see Ready Shoes going by a big number, and we're going to close things out with that post parade with the 12 and Jack's Spring Break. John Court, how about that here at 12-1?
John Court keeps defying Father Time. Just incredible that John can still get it done. And John's a guy that likes to be aggressive from that post. Look for him to have Jack's Spring Break up on the pace.
Paul LaDuca is in Hot Springs, Arkansas. He's going to be down there all season there at Oaklawn Park, and almost got there with Can't Hush This at a nice number there at that 701. Can we get back to it, Paul? Who do you like here in the 10th and final?
Well, I actually landed on the 2 in here for Danny Pites. These races, it seems like these last races, or at least the end of the card races, especially yesterday, and especially the Arkansas bred races, you have to have some racing under your belt. Coming off a layoff, you have to be much the best. It just seems like that horses that are coming in that have been running regularly. And when you look at a horse like Jim Ned, the 9, this horse comes off, a couple wins at Remington Park. And the last one was from way off the pace. The issue that you have with this horse, the 9, is that he comes from way out of it. Jose Medina gave this horse a good ride. And, here's a case of a horse that broke his maiden, going a distance to ground, and the light bulb was gone on. Then won again, ran second, then won last time out, and this was a 30-9 too. I get it. It's not that giant of a number, but this horse has been racing, so the advantage would go to him a little bit. He'd be the horse that I would think, I don't know if can win this race, but will be flying on late. I like the 2 in here, Top Road Rules. I didn't think I was going to get 10-1. 7-1, I'll take. This horse has got some route races, been running on the grass. Also has gotten 2 races going a distance to ground on the dirt. So I think there's plenty of bottom there, and you're getting a good price at 7-1. But then there's the 10, Where's Randy? And for Randy Morse, a horse that, listen, this is a horse that was in the Rainbow last year at 4-1 for Arkansas breds, and obviously just needed that race last time at Churchill Downs. And Randy's gotten off to a good start, good second in that last race. And JK, Julian Leperoux's riding hot. Where do you want Where's Randy to sit in this race?
Well, Paulie, I threw you a curveball, which I know you could hit. You see how I did that there? I didn't even mean to do it. It was an accident. I did throw you a curveball. You hit it. Baseball guy. Okay. Anyways, I changed my pick. I did pick Where's Randy, but I asked our producer to change my pick to the 1 because of the price. Where's Randy? I thought was a little bit interesting, but as I dove a little bit deeper, this horse doesn't break well. And from the outside, for a horse who's stretching out, I'm concerned that he's going to kind of get hooked wide around there. And he's a short price. So in that situation, I'm going to go with the 1, Amazing Wisdom. A horse drawn towards the inside. I loved his race 2 back, and I thought that he had some excuses last time. He was wide all the way around there. And look, when we're talking about short price horses, I'll take a horse at 9 to 5. I'll take a horse at 4 to 5. I'll take a horse at 2 to 5. But they have to check all of the boxes. And for me, the 10, Where's Randy, doesn't check all the boxes, so I can't lean on him at a short price. I'm going to take a shot here to wrap up this this card with the 1, Amazing Wisdom. Yeah, there's that curveball.
Who catches the curveball? You? You're going to hit the curveball, man.
I was the kid they put in right field in Little League. You know, they always put the worst kid out in right field in
Right
Little
to the
League.
racetrack after that. Amazing Wisdom there for JK. And that's what you adjust as handicappers, as bettors, as you're watching the races and seeing how it plays. And we talked about Jim Ned, and we'll talk about Where's Randy in just a moment. But Jim Ned, maybe the trip kind of works out. You talked about the center of the racetrack and that type of move. Maybe it lends to a horse like the 9.
Yeah, you know, I just, the more I looked at it, and I'm looking at, again, I believe you see more chaos in these races. He's a closer in good form, and he has current form. So, you know, fitness isn't an issue. And I think he's the horse that I want rallying down at, you know, a decent price here, 8 to 1. I just thought he made some sense. I will say this, though, Chris, looking at the 1 horse, Amazing Wisdom warm-up, he made a nice impression in the warm-up.
All right, we'll see what happens there. 10 to 1 now as they are getting the advice here from the desk. But Where's Randy? This is your favorite horse right now at 9 to 5. And you take a look at this effort. This is going to be a look at this gray. You know, 4-year-old that. What do you think from this? I mean, what do you take from this effort?
Well, you know, I think it was a good, hard-trying effort. He looks like he's a horse that wants to lug in, right? He was constantly trying to drift back in behind horses. Now he's going to sift out to the clear here. But, you know, he does have the 1 start sprinting to kind of prep for this mile and a 16th. Just didn't give me the impression that he really relished that.
But were the horses coming back to him, or was he making up ground? It just
I think they were coming back.
Seems like they were coming back a little bit. I mean, and it's something that I noticed earlier on when we were talking about your horse in the Extreme Diva, when we were talking about that horse, just kind of, you could tell, right, as you're watching, and you've watched so many races, you've ridden in so many races, you know when those horses are kind of coming back. That's an important point, especially when you're 9 to 5.
Exactly. He wasn't finishing with energy, no matter what it might look like on paper. I think that was a clear illustration. And he was lugging in, and then late he got to drifting out. He just looked like he was struggling himself. It's just the other horse's strides were shortening or deteriorating a little bit, if you will.
Yeah, we'll see where the 10 is going to be placed in this race. And you talk about some of the speed and looking through some of the speed. I mean, state-bred races like this, some coming out of the sprint, some of them going 2 turns. It's kind of like, you know, if the race is offered, you kind of go for that spot. But true speed, you don't see a ton of it. What does the pace kind of look like?
Yeah, but on the stretch out, you're going to get horses that are stepping out from the 6 furlong distance or their sprint distances that are going to show more speed. Choctaw Zip is more of a closing sprinter, but stretching out, you've got to think he's going to be close. Classy Sox has sprint speed, right? The 6 horse, that's probably your main speed. Table Money is coming out of sprints. He's not that far off of pace. And, you know, you're talking about 21, 45. Okay, we're just hearing there's a late scratch.
Where's Randy? He's going to be scratched. The 10 is going to be scratched here out of this spot here. I believe the 10, we're going to see it come up on the screen, but I'm told the 10 is going to be scratched. Do we have Paul there to kind of give us a quick shout? Okay. We're going to find out more about that. But, hey, when you get a late scratch like this, especially at 9 to 5, now it's a little bit of chaos around those betting windows.
Well, and the other thing, too, is we're going to lose some of the price we were getting on horses we like. You know, Paul's horse at 6 to 1, the 2 horse, he's probably going to be 4-1 by the time we, everything gets situated. Amazing Wisdom will come down. My pick, Jim Ned, will come down as well. And listen, he is now scratch. We see he's off the board. And the force went to favoritism. Choctaw Zip, who's stretching out to the mile distance off a long layoff, and he's only sprinted in his career.
So when you look at the Arkansas breds, though, this is their window, right? This is their window to run at Oaklawn Park. So when you see these long layoffs like this, how much can we really put into that long layoff, but this is really just waiting kind of for this time frame?
Well, again, you look at the purse, $140,000 purse in a first-level allowance race for Arkansas breds. It's actually cost-effective to turn them out when the meet ends and wait and try to prepare them for those Arkansas bred races when it rolls back around. I still think it's a very tall order to get a mile off an extended layoff.
Now you get a lukewarm favorite here in the 4 in Choctaw Zip, a horse that hasn't been seen since April, the 3-year-old Bicarb Diem that, has a decent fourth-place effort, comes back as a gelding, it looks like here. So there are some differences and some question marks for a horse that you're going to really land on, right? Because the 10 gets scratched.
Sure.
Was there anywhere else we could go? I mean, we talked about the 1 a little bit. We talked about the 2. But now when you get a scratch of the favorite, do we price shop a little bit? I mean, your prices are kind of coming down, and do we say maybe the 5, maybe the 9? Is there somebody that we can throw into the mix that we felt, okay, well, maybe this horse is going to move up?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was kind of looking at the 9 to begin with because he's coming off of good form at Remington. He's down now to 5-1. Again, Paul's selection down to 4-1. Amazing Wisdom. I tell you, watching, and I'm big about appearance. If I like a horse on paper, and then I really like what I see physically, gets a double check mark, that's always going to be my selection. Amazing Wisdom didn't stand out to me on paper. I think Jonathan made a good argument for this horse. But I will say he was the one that was most impressive in the warm-up, and he's very well posted. He can save ground on the first turn and then maybe get out to that, what I can perceive as the better part of the racetrack for his finishing kick.
They are starting to load that field now, and you heard me talking about the number 1, Amazing Wisdom. J.K. likes Amazing Wisdom quite a bit here in this spot, and so we'll see if they can get the job done. It's 6-1. We had a 9-2 earlier. We had an exacta earlier. Things are rolling right along, and they're rolling right along there at Hot Springs, Arkansas, as Paul LeDuc has been there all day long, doing a great job. And race 10, 10th and final, Matt Dinnerman, new announcer there at Oaklawn Park, is getting ready for this 10th and final race.
So is table money, Jim Ned coming up. Black Apple, Classy Socks goes forward as well. 2 more runners to round out the field here in the last race. Ready Shoes and Jack Spring Break. One back. Jack Spring Break. We're ready to go. And they're off in the finale. Amazing Wisdom leapt in the air at the start. Jim Ned was also off slowly. Those 2 trailed the field together. Top Road Rules from the inside, offensive-minded. Classy Socks is there. Table Money makes it a party of 3 into the clubhouse turn. He's going to ease off the top pair who go at it. Inside Top Road Rules, outside Classy Socks move along, and they put 3 lengths on Table for Money, who's happy to track from the 3rd position. Black Apple is next with Jack Spring Break. They're side by side. Choctaw Zip makes it 3, wedges himself between horses. A Fleet Sky off that trio. Then Courtney Fay running to the inside. Ready Shoes is 3rd last, 2 lengths clear of Jim Ned. And Amazing Wisdom is well behind as they head down the back stretch. The top 2 spar on the lead, and they move right along. 23 seconds flat that opening quarter. The half, 46-2. A speedy tempo here set by the top pair. Top Road Rules inside with a 3/4 length lead. Make it a length on Classy Socks in the 2nd spot. 2.5 lengths back to Table Money in 3rd. Black Apple sent along, and then Choctaw Zip as they round that turn. A Fleet Sky. Courtney Fay is next. The others have got to get going. In the words of Terry Wallace, here they come into the short stretch at Oaklawn Park. Top Road Rules after that fast pace is getting tired. Classy Socks is completely dropped out of it, and Top Road Rules is about to get swallowed up by Black Apple and Ricardo Santana Jr., who take the lead. Choctaw zips second. Here comes Ready Shoes on the outside. This race ending at the 16th pole. Black Apple has 100 yards to go. Clings on from Ready Shoes, who's surging. Black Apple got it. Black Apple over Ready Shoes. Photo for third between a Fleet Sky, Jim Ned, and also Top Road Rules. The early leader faded to be in that photo for the Shodo.
John Ortiz, trainer John Ortiz, teaming up with Ricardo Santana Jr. Connections you know very well. They get the job done there with Black Apple. Ends up going off at around 14-1, so a nice price. You had a big long shot in the 11 coming at a huge number. And that's what he said. Archiebreds with that scratch of the favorite became wide open.
Yeah, and you saw a very fast pace. For this level of horse, going a mile to go 23, 46 and 2, you're going to look for the back markers, right, the back runners. And this is the horse that got the first run on the speed, and he was able to hold off Ready Shoes. Chris Lindauer's riding very well, very strong finishing rider. I'm a fan of Chris's. I like when he's in the zone, you can see it. He kind of locks in. But John Ed Anthony, Shortleaf Stable, winningest owner in Oaklawn Park history.
Wow, we'll see what happens there. As the meet continues at Oaklawn Park, Paul LaDuca's going to be down there. Thank you, Paulie, as you're down there. JK, thank you so much as well. And Mig, this is your area. These are your people. The holiday season getting ready to start. I feel I can't be the one that says the holiday wish. You got to do it.
Well, no, listen, just thank you everybody that tunes in and supports us, and have a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas, and I will see you guys next when I'm at Oaklawn.
Sounds good. Next show is coming up on the 29th of December when we come back. More America's Day at the races. Have a wonderful holiday. We'll see you guys later on this month.